Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. This is a story about what if Naruto returns as a samurai. Before I start, please support for more amazing content and do consider subscribing to my channel and share this video with your friends. This is written by Tarot134 and link in description and support writer. Let's start the video. Book 1. Iron Spiral Ch1. A distant roar of frustration is heard echoing throughout the night. The shinobi mustered outside the main gate to their village shiver in fear of it. One wearing a dog mask leans over to the sandame. Should we go help him? No, he knows what he is doing, we will just be in the way. Another roar sounds out in the dark. The battle between the Kyuubi no Kitsune and the Yondaime rages on far away from the destroyed village. Then nothing, just silence. The collected shinobi wait holding their breath for the silence to end, but it doesn't. After several minutes the sandame comes to a decision. Stay here all of you. He commands as he turns and leaps into the trees, running in the direction of his successor's battle. He arrives to a crushing sight. The bodies of the Yondaime and his wife, dead, pierced through the abdomen. Before them is a newborn sleeping soundlessly in altar. The sandame walks over and closes the eyes of the dead on their last sight, their son. He picks up the baby and walks back to the village swearing to honor his fallen friend. 6 years later. A young man walks the streets of Konoha, watching the villagers prepare for the annual festival celebrating the defeat of the Kyuubi no Kitsune. The man stops outside a small restaurant deciding to get lunch. But as he reaches for the door it slides open and an orange blur flies out closely followed by a meat cleaver. Just before the cleaver makes contact with the young boy the man snatches it out of the air. The blonde-haired youth looks up at him and smiles before dashing off. How strange, thought the man as he walks into the restaurant. He hears the cook behind the bar mumble about a demon brat and quiet agreements from the patrons already seated. The man scowls, the tone and atmosphere of the restaurant is all wrong. Not one filled with excitement for the upcoming festival that night. He walks quietly up to the bar unnoticed by anyone. Then after hearing the cook describe the boy he just saved from major injury as demon scum, he slams the cleaver, which was still in his hand, into the bar, where it remained embedded into the wood. What was the about? He asked with a tone of someone used to being answered when he demanded in one. The cook turned around about to berate whoever had just spoken to him like an underling, but stopped in his tracks when he looks at the young man. Standing there was a samurai easily 6 feet tall with light armor meant for fast travel. A steel plate covering his abdomen on top of a tight sleeveless shirt that fits snugly, as if it was formed to him with bandages wrapped around his forearms from his elbows to the first knuckle on his fingers, an ornate piece of plate armor on his left shoulder resembling a wolf with spirals in the eyes. Under his left arm was a large coat that he had opted to take off on the warm autumn day. Almost hidden under the coat was a full katana strapped to his hip. Then the cook looked up at the man's face and noticed the large scar that started under his left eye and disappeared under his shirt. His eyes, rimmed with dark blue and filled with white until the abyss-like pupils, which froze you where you stood. And a head of hair, crimson red in color with a strange haircut, spiky on top, buzzed on the sides and pulled into a short spiky ponytail in the back. The cook finally recovers from his surprise and calms down noticeable. The appearance of the samurai cools his head, not wanting to anger the large man. I have the right to refuse anyone my business. The samurai eyes the cook who scrums under the look of a seasoned veteran. It rivaled the older shinobi who the cook had met. Finally the samurai an eyebrow. So you throw a meat cleaver at a child who at worst could run out on his bill and get a free meal instead of telling him to simply leave. That child, the cook hissed, is nothing more than demon scum and should be run out of the village. The reply that the samurai received was met by many here by the other patrons, and a smug look on the cook's face. And here I thought that Konoha held children as precious, the will of fire and all that. Guess not. He says with some venom as he turns and leaves, having lost his appetite. The samurai continued walking looking for the boy, but after a few hours his stomach started growling, demanding attention. Coincidentally he again found himself again outside a small food stand. He ducks under the curtain and greeted by the heavenly scent of ramen, his absolute favorite food that he rarely got in the land of iron. As he sits at the counter he is greeted by an older man who handed him a menu. Welcome to Ichiraku ramen, please enjoy. He returns the greeting and asks what the house special is. The older man, who introduces himself as Tucci, shows the samurai the specials part of the menu. He thanks Tucci and introduces himself. Then returns to the menu to choose what he wants for dinner. After a few minutes of looking he decides on a miso pork ramen. He puts the menu down and is about to order when he notices a flash of blonde in the corner of his eye and looks. You, he exclaimed, I found you. The blonde jumps and looks at the source of the loud noise halfway out the entrance as he does, but doesn't get the chance to run. The samurai quickly grabs him by the shoulder and puts him the seat next to him. I have been looking for you everywhere, kid. Now the boy was really scared. Whenever an adult is looking for him it was never good. "Are you okay?" asked a samurai, throwing the child off balance. No adult other than the Hokage and Uchiha asked him that. All he could do was nod, which was enough for the samurai, reassuring him. Good, that asshole back at that restaurant. I almost hit him, but I don't want to cause any more trouble than necessary. Treating a kid like you like that," he said, mostly to himself. Who honestly seemed annoyed by the actions of the cook and the villagers at the restaurant earlier. "So what was that about? You owe that guy money or something?" the samurai asked. The boy had calmed down and wasn't at risk of running off again, so the samurai let him go. The boy looked up at the samurai and shrugged. Thanks for earlier, and I don't know why the villagers always treat me like that, especially on my birthday. Only a few minutes after you saved me a lynch mob started chasing me, but two Anbu stopped them and I could get away." "You're welcome, and if it's your birthday you should spend it with your family, not dodging cleavers and mobs, or a stranger at a ramen stand. Even if it's great ramen, which it must be by the way it smells." He jokes, but the boy just hangs his head a little saddened. The samurai quickly sobers up. "Orphan?" More of a statement than question. The boy nods quietly. "Well, in that case, happy birthday, Naruto says, not believing what he is hearing. No one wished him a happy birthday. The samurai smiles back. "Happy birthday, Naruto. Have as much ramen as you like on me," he says, startling Naruto. "Really?" he asks with a look of wonder. "Yup, it's the best present I can give you on such short notice. You didn't give me much time to prepare, did you?" he teased and placed his own order. Naruto just sat there a little stunned. "What are you waiting for? Order something. I don't want to eat alone, it's depressing." Naruto quickly placed his order. The pair waited in silence until Tucci placed their orders in front of them. "Naruto, what do you say to someone that gives you something?" Tucci said, reminding the boy. "Sorry Uchiha, thanks for the ramen, Zenitsu," says the samurai as he snaps his chopsticks apart. "Thanks Zenitsu." He nods in acknowledgement as he digs into the ramen, which did taste as good as it smelled. After that the conversation and ramen flowed. Naruto asking Zenitsu about what was it like as a samurai and Zenitsu telling him stories about his training and adventures. And in turn Zenitsu asked Naruto about the village and about himself. They enjoy each other's stories. At one point Zenitsu blows noodles out his nose when Naruto tells him about the Hokage's reaction to his infamous Exi no Jutsu. And Naruto sits wide-eyed as Zenitsu tells him the story of how he got his scar. They would fall silent when their orders arrived, but it was content silence, not an awkward one, as they enjoyed their ramen. Naruto found great joy in having someone to share stories with and was having a great time. And although Naruto liked Zenitsu's stories, Zenitsu found listening to Naruto's a little painful, and some, particularly about how the villagers treated him, infuriated Zenitsu. Here was a boy who just turned 6 having suffered greater than some full-grown adults that he know, but despite that he was still able to smile and was filled with such optimism, dreaming to become the Hokage like his hero the Yondaime. Zenitsu found himself respecting the boy greatly. Am, the daughter of Tucci and works as a waitress at night, brings them their next order, placing Naruto's in front of him. "Here you go Uzumaki-kun." "Thanks, Am ni." "And here is yours, sir." But Zenitsu doesn't respond. He looks at Naruto, then at Am. "Did you just call him Uzumaki?" She nods, a little unsure of what is going on. Zenitsu looks back at Naruto. "Your name is Uzumaki, Naruto?" Naruto looks at him, noodles hanging out of his mouth. He slurps up the noodles and his head sideways, his eyes squinting at Zenitsu's weird look. "Yeah, Uzumaki Naruto, that's my name, didn't I tell you that?" But before Zenitsu can respond, a man rushes into Ichiraku and grabs Naruto. Am screams in surprise, and after the conversation Zenitsu had with Naruto all evening, that was all the justification he needed. With speed painfully gained through years of practice, draws his sword, filling the ramen stand with the chilling hiss of steel, and cuts off the arms of the man who grabbed Naruto in one fluid movement like his name describes, one cut. Then with the same fluid grace kicks the man in the chest, sending him flying back out into the dark street. Zenitsu, sensing the malevolence emanating from outside, turns to face it. He stabs the ground and throws his coat over his shoulders and thrusts his arms into the sleeves. Naruto stares at the symbol on Zenitsu's back, a white spiral that was almost glowing against the black leather of the coat. Zenitsu pulls his sword from the wooden floor and strides out of the stand, followed closely by Naruto. They are greeted by a large mob of villagers. The smell of alcohol was palatable. Many were armed with kitchen knives, other makeshift weapons and torches. They throw curses at him for what he did to their maimed compatriot. Zenitsu silently assesses the situation. Roughly 200, maybe a few shinobi thrown in too, to think that this is what the kid has faced every year. He thought to himself, filled with pride, that Naruto could survive against such odds. Then silence. Naruto had been hiding behind Zenitsu, but stepped out to look at the crowd that had gathered to hunt him down. At the sight of him, the gathered villagers growl like some kind of large animal. Give us the demon, we will finish what Yondaime Sama started, yelled a faceless voice in the crowd. Prompting many in the crowd to take up the call, yelling insults at Naruto. Demanding that Zenitsu turn over the demons come to them. Naruto starts to shake, doubt creeps into his mind, Zenitsu protected me twice, but this is too much. He can't handle so many, he will not risk himself for me, I'm nobody. But his thoughts are stopped when Zenitsu places his free hand on the boy's shoulder and gives it a gentle squeeze and pushes him protectively behind him again. He then turns his focus on the crowd. Remembering everything that Naruto told him. Letting the anger and disgust he felt for the villagers flow to the surface. Zenitsu casts a killing intent out on the mob, so great the older members have flashbacks to the night the Kyuubi no Kitsune attacked and collapse in terror-induced convulsions. My name is Uzumaki Zenitsu, vice captain of the 2nd Division of the Iron Guard, he roared, any who wish harm to my cousin step forward and face your death. Then to demonstrate his threat he swings his sword cutting a gash in the street, effectively dividing it in half. With Naruto and himself on one side separated from the mob, the promise of death to anyone who crossed it. The few shinobi in the crowd quickly sobered under the wave of killing intent and massive chakra spike from his demonstration. Most realized that they were no match for the monster that stood before them and ran for it, leaving the crowd to fend for themselves, but 5 of them felt differently and stepped forward to take Zenitsu's challenge. They stood together on the line that had been drawn, across from Naruto and Zenitsu, many in the crowd cheering them on, all of them had faced samurai from other nations before, and none of them took this one any more seriously than they did the others. The first one charged Zenitsu, but before Zenitsu could do anything an anbu landed in front of him taking him to the ground, pinning him there. The pinned shinobi started to struggle and was struck on the back of the neck and stopped moving. The others all fell into taijutsu stances. But before they could act a second anbu landed next to the first. Don't even think about it. Leave before I get physical. He snarls. Then lightning shot out of his hand, starting to crackle with power, adding his own killing intent to the samurai and fellow anbu. After a few moments the shinobi thought about their opinions, decided that it was best to take up the dog mask anbu on his offer. One thinks better of fighting and leaves his fellows to face the anbu and samurai. That offer is about to expire and I don't think the samurai will wait much longer. Said the weasel mask anbu, a faint red glow coming from the eye slits in his mask after he finished restraining the unconscious shinobi. The shinobi knew what that blow was and fled, leaving the villagers alone to face 2 anbu and a really angry samurai. To emphasize the samurai losing his patience, Zenitsu sends out a fresh wave of killer intent even larger than the first, enraged that someone thought so little of him that they could defeat him in a drunken stupor. Causing most of the villagers to turn and run for the hills. Leaving only the most stubborn villagers and those who had already fallen victim to the first wave of killing intent earlier on the ground. At last even they finally turned, retrieved their unconscious comrades and left, grumbling about demon lovers and the Hokage playing favorites. After the last of the villagers left, Zenitsu sheathed his sword and turned to Naruto. He went to a knee in front of Naruto. Naruto, are you okay? He doesn't respond, the fear of having another mob nearly kill him on his birthday, again, but to only be saved by a complete stranger who turns out to be his cousin. It's too good to be true, he couldn't be my real cousin, it's not possible that after so long my wish just comes true on my birthday like some fairy tale. But he is disturbed from his thoughts by Zenitsu shaking him, trying to get his attention. Naruto, can you hear me? Are you okay? Naruto's eye refocused and he looks at Zenitsu. You're my cousin? He asked hesitantly. Zenitsu sighs in relief. He's okay. That's right Naruto, my mother is the older sister of the only Uzumaki in Konoha until she died, Uzumaki Kushina, and you must be her son. You have the same eyes as her. This makes me your cousin. Zenitsu can't see that Naruto is still hesitate, so he reaches into his coat and pulls out a small scroll. It had the Uzumaki clan crest on it. Zenitsu unrolls the scroll revealing a list of names on it. This is the Uzumaki family tree. See, this is me. He points to his name and traces it back to his mother and father, then at the name next to his mother's, Uzumaki Kushina. Put some of your blood here. In the circle. Naruto, instinctively knowing what the seals on the scroll would do, he does as he is asked. He bites his thumb and places the bloody digit into the circle Zenitsu indicated. At first nothing happens and Naruto is chestfallen, but then the bloody put on the scroll disappears and his name is added under Uzumaki Kushina. The boy's eyes go big as he looks at the scroll. Zenitsu smiles and rolls the scroll up, puts it away and looks at Naruto. Welcome to the family Naruto. Zenitsu nai. Naruto cries out and hugs his new cousin, happiness overtakes him for his greatest wish had come true, he had a family at last. The Anbu look at each other and then at the little reunion, a little uncomfortable about what to do, then the one with the dog mask coughs. Not to butt in or anything, but this is not really the place to sit and talk. Those shinobi might get friends and come back, and although I doubt that they will attack us, I would really not want to have to try and stop you if they threatened your nephew again." Zenitsu nods and picks up Naruto, who at first tense bit then relaxes, putting his arms around Zenitsu's neck. Snuggling his head against Zenitsu's neck and squeezing tightly, trying to get closer. Zenitsu smiles at his little cousin's attempts at closeness and then saddens thinking about someone so young being so desperate for physical contact. "Fine, take me to the Hokage. If he is anything like Mifune-sama, he will still be up doing paperwork despite the late hour. I wish to discuss the treatment of my cousin, among other things." The samurai's tone was commanding, and the Anbu snapped to attention at hearing it. Even if he wasn't from the village, he was obviously someone of high rank and they were trained too well to challenge a superior, partially in anger one. The both nod and take positions on either side of Naruto and Zenitsu as they walk to meet the Hokage. Chapter 2. Book 1. Iron Spiral Ch2. The three men and Naruto walk through the village. It was near midnight and most of the festival was over. What villagers that were on the streets had been in the mob that the samurai and Anbu scattered or just too drunk to find their homes. Naruto quietly clung to Zenitsu as they walked, basking in the happiness of finding his family. Thinking how he so easily told Zenitsu all the things he told him about his life. Why he had followed him out of Ichiraku even when he knew that there was a lynch mob waiting for him, and why he felt so safe with Zenitsu even when he didn't even know who he was despite his serious trust issues. He could count all the people he trusted on one hand, maybe he had no on some unconscious who Zenitsu was. He wondered if that was what family was like. He giggled into Zenitsu's neck, "I'm going to find out." Zenitsu on the other hand was on high alert. After the mob he wasn't taking any risks with his newly found little cousin. He watched with disgust as the villagers looked out their windows at them with looks of complete loathing for the boy, many shutting their shutters as they pasted by. Slowly Zenitsu's hostility for the village grew. He started thinking seriously that the real reason he was in the village was a mistake, even if he was the one who came up with the idea. He was now leaning more towards taking Naruto and leaving for the land of iron to return to raze the village to the ground, but then Weasel throws a kunai into a nearby ally, shortly followed by a pained cry. Naruto smirked. "Nice throw, Weasel, nai." He held up a peace sign for Naruto, whose grin spread from ear to ear. Causing Zenitsu to correct his heated thoughts, "I was right after all, so what if the civilians were not worthy of sword fodder? And maybe some of the shinobi are not that great, not all the samurai are honorable as well. But there are more good ones tend not. So Weasel, are you Naruto's guardian all the time or just on nights like tonight?" Weasel shook his head. "No, Dog and I are Anbu captains and have a lot of mission work. We only protect Naruto when we are in the village. Which I must say sadly is not enough, but Dog and I asked the Hokage if he would let us both stay in the village this time after what happened last year." Naruto cringes at the memory of his last birthday, where he was caught on a dead-end street and tortured within an inch of his life. He had to stay in the hospital for 2 weeks afterwards, the longest he has ever stayed in the hospital. "So we have been in the village more recently. Then I must thank you both for taking care of Naruto the best you could. If at all possible, I would like to honor you both with a drink. I will be in the village for a little longer if the talk with the Hokage goes the way I would like it to. If it is possible, we would be honored, but thanks are not necessary. It is us that should be thanking you. Had you not been there, we would not have been in time to stop them. They were very organized and those shinobi worry me greatly." They walk in silence for several minutes until it is broken by loud snoring. All three men going to high alert by the sudden noise, then when it happens again they look at Naruto in Zenitsu's arms. The young boy, after a long stressful day, has fallen deeply into sleep in the safety of Zenitsu's arms. The three men laugh quietly so not to wake the boy. "Well, that scared the crap out of me. I thought we were about to be ambushed," said Dog as he put the kunai he had drawn away. "That is something I really don't want to happen right now. I am still angry and I honestly don't trust myself to hold back against anyone that would attack us right now," replied Zenitsu. "I don't blame you, and if it weren't for my orders I would let you, and thank you again for stopping them and restraining yourself as you did. Knowing that such scum live in the village makes my blood boil," said Weasel. Zenitsu shrugs, disturbing Naruto, who remains asleep after repositioning himself. "I would do it for anyone. A drunken mob is not something to leave to its own devices. I am here on a diplomatic mission, so killing 200 or so of your villagers would be a little unreasonable, but self-defense on the other hand is another matter completely. Had you not stopped that drunken fool, I would have cut him in half." The two Anbu gulped after hearing his tone. They had really been lucky. If not for his mission, Zenitsu would have killed all the villagers without a second's hesitation, and they both know it. "Thank you all the same. What you said about the boy's parentage. Is it true? Are you really his cousin?" "Yes, I was surprised to have met him. I was not expecting to find my aunt's son here, or that she lived long enough to have one. I met her once when I was very young. She had heard a rumor that survivors had made their way to the land of iron and came to investigate. When she and my mother saw each other it was a very loud reunion, to say the least. She had tried to get them all to move to Konoha, but many had found a life in the Land of Iron and didn't want to leave their new friends and family. Most of my generation grow up together with children of samurai clans. We are a part of the Land of Iron now. So she left after declining the same offer from my mother. She was a shinobi and would stay with her village. Now thinking about it, she must have met someone, so that was why she declined. My mother couldn't understand why she didn't take her offer, since she was the only Uzumaki in Konoha. Her teammates and her sensei agreed to keep our existence a secret when they left from everyone. I had though about taking him with me back to the Land of Iron, then my business was concluded once I realized who he was, but now I think that might be a little more complicated than before, though putting the Kyuubi no Kitsune in another Uzumaki shouldn't be any surprise. You lot have done it 3 times now. The 2 Anbu look at Shinichi, their bodies tense. He looks over at them and gives them an icy smirk. Did you really think I wouldn't figure it out? His birthday is today, the anniversary of the demon's defeat at the hand of the Yondaime. The villagers continued to stain for him and repeatedly calling him a demon. And I am an Uzumaki, I do know a thing or two about seals, and placing a beast like that without risk of future complications, a newborn with undeveloped chakra coils, would be the best option. By the way, who is his father if it is just some random man that you lot had Kushina lay with to produce a new Jinchuriki? We are going to have serious problems. He said darkly, his tone laced with threats. Dog quickly spoke up in an attempt to placate the quick-tempered samurai. No, it was nothing like that. We cannot say who his father is, for it will place him in great danger both from his father's enemies and a few in the village who would want to take advantage of him, but I can personally vouch that Kushina was in a loving relationship of her own choice. She was very happy. I do understand where you are coming from, and although there are a few in this village, I would not put it past to try something like that. The Sandaime and Yondaime, when he was alive, would never let that happen. Answered Dog, making it very clear that Naruto was a child conceived in a loving and happy union. Shinichi nodded his understanding. The men continued walking through the village, taking streets and alleyways to get to the Hokage mansion instead of the tower, where the Sandaime Hokage lived and worked when he got tired of his offices, and at this time of night, the chances of him being there were much better. As they crossed a main street, Shinichi looked up at the Hokage mountain, admiring the craftsmanship of the carving of something so large. He studied the faces of the 4 Hokages' face carved in the stone, studying the Yondaime's face intensely. So was the Yondaime protective of Kushina because it was the right thing to do, or was it because he was in love with her himself and the father of Naruto? Or at least I hope he is. He says slyly. Both Anbu stop in their tracks. This man who has just arrived for the first time in their village had already discovered 2 of the greatest and closest guarded secrets they have in the span of one night. Shinichi smiles at their reaction. I hope that means you will keep it a secret then. As you might have guessed, if the truth that Naruto was the son of Minato, then he would become the target for over a dozen powerful people, not to mention the entire village of Iowa. Said an older man in white robes holding a large hat in his left hand and a pipe in the other. He was sitting on the steps leading into his home, waiting for them. Shinichi eyed the old man with a little killing intent in his stare. This was the Hokage, the man who should have by all rights been raising his cousin. So we meet at last, Sandaime Hokage Sarutobi Hiruzen. I believe you were not expecting me until tomorrow, but I must insist we talk now. I would have to agree, and could you please not stare at me like that? When someone as strong as my students gives me a look like that, it puts me very on edge. The 2 Anbu look again at each other. For the 100th time that night they were thanking Kami that the samurai restrained himself against the villagers, otherwise there would have been a very bloody mess to clean up. I will after you explain why over 200 villagers tried to kill my cousin for the 2nd time. His voice was so icy it made the old shinobi shiver. This man is very powerful. He is most likely on par with Uriya. I must be careful no to make this man an enemy. He very well might take Naruto and leave. I cannot lose this chance. If this is what I think it is about, then it might answer all my problems. He stood up and dumped the tobacco out of his pipe. He walked into his home followed by Shinichi and the Anbu. They walked in silence until the Hokage spoke. I think we can disguise this further in my study. It will be far more comfortable and it will give you somewhere you can put Naruto down to sleep. I don't think I have ever seen him sleep so peacefully before. Well, when you are running from murderous mobs all the time with no one to run to, I would be surprised if you could sleep easy. Shinichi taking a shot at the Hokage, whose eyes saddened a little. They arrive at the study and the Hokage opens the door. Entering, he points to a couch that Shinichi could deposit Naruto to sleep, which he does. Taking off his coat, he places it on top of Naruto like a blanket. Who wraps himself with it in his sleep, hugging it tightly. I am sorry for that. The villagers can't get over the pain from the lose of their hero and loved ones. They find it easier to blame Naruto. Though it is good to see that crest again, it seems right for him to have it. He says, looking down at the sleeping boy. It could have happened much earlier. I understand not telling him about his father even if I don't agree, but his mother should have been enough. He is entitled to that much, and if they knew he was a true Uzumaki, then he would have been easily taken care of. The clan had large amount of savings here in Konoha, and I am sure they had grown with Kushina's mission work. Not to mention the clan shrine we kept here in the past, it would have been a good home for him. Better than that flop house in the red light district you dumped him in. What do you mean flop house? Naruto should be in the village orphanage until he becomes a shinobi and has a larger source of income than the monthly allowance I arranged for him. Well, he got kicked out about a year ago and has been using the allowance you give him to pay his rent. He barely has enough to buy food, so he eats mostly wild game and fruits. The working girls in the area though took pity on him and helped him a little. They gave him the clothes he owns and taught him how to cook for himself, though until recently he didn't have much to cook. The grocers in the village overcharge him or will not sell to him at all. Someone else taught him how to hunt and to forage in the forest to survive. My guess would be those two Anbu. Pointing his thumb over his shoulder at the door where Dog and Weasel were waiting. As Zenitsu finished telling the Hokage about Naruto's life for the last year, the Sandaime grew more and more furious. He had no idea that Naruto was living like. He was surprised to hear that the girls of the red light district had for the most part adopted Naruto and had been raising him in an offhanded way, outcast raising an outcast he thought, for helping him he was grateful. He would make sure to thank them somehow later. But when he heard that Dog and Weasel had known and said nothing to him about it, he was livid. Two of his most trusted agents withholding information from him was unacceptable. Dog, Weasel, he commanded, front and center, now. Both Anbu shunshin into the room on either side of Zenitsu's chair and stood unmoving at attention. Would the two of you please explain to me why I was not told about Naruto's living arrangements when you learned about them? And I want the truth. The undertone in the Hokage's voice was dangerous at best. The Anbu stood very still until Dog sighed. Well, Weasel, the cat's out of the bag now. Weasel just hung his head. Can I just say that Naruto asked us not to tell you? He didn't want to burden you with his troubles. We told him that you would want to help. But he is a lot smarter than people give him credit. He knows that if you did the council would be on you for favoritism. He knows that they are against him, but not why. The Sandaime sighs, dropping his head in defeat. It was true, every time he had tried to do anything for the boy the council would do just that and he would be forced to retract his motion. Not for the first time he cursed the council and the civilian side in particular. The shinobi clan heads that make up the other side were indifferent or didn't like the boy. Explain yourself. I want a reason why you choose not to tell me at the whim of a 6-year-old. Like Dog said, Naruto didn't want you to know so you wouldn't try to help him and get on the bad side of the council again. A week after I returned from a long mission, Naruto sought me out and explained what happened. I initially wanted to take it to you, but he stopped me and explained why. After listening to him I had to agree, and well, the way he called all the girls in the red light district one he said I know that Naruto's wouldn't just leave them anyway. So I asked him why he then came looking for me. He told me then about the grocers and that they wouldn't sell to him and they overcharged his 1E sands, so he wanted me to teach him to survive in the forests like I had been taught as a shinobi. At first I was hesitant, but after Dog returned and I talked it over with him, we agreed to teach him under the condition that he wouldn't stray too far from the village. At first he agreed, but as we couldn't stay in the village and hold him to it all the time, he made it out farther and farther until he was taking hunting trips, coming back with enough game for most of the girls and himself. After that we just started teaching him more and more. Frankly, if he wanted to leave the village he now has the skills to survive and make a living on the skins and meat. It wasn't until then that we realized that this might have been his intentions the whole time, but again he surprised us, and after every trip he would return and pass out the spools from his little apartment that is now decorated with the skins of some seriously impressive kills. When did he get that apartment anyway? Asked the Hokage, to be answered by Dog. 2 weeks after he got kicked out of the orphanage. I helped him find that apartment. The Hokage rolled his eyes. I should have known he did. And the girls promised me that they would look out for him. I then left for a mission and didn't learn about the food problem until my return, and Weasel came to me asking for advice. After I told him I was the one to get him that apartment, we started teaching him about hunting, foraging, and cleaning his kills. After that he started providing the girls with free meat and vegetables from the woods. Some taught him to cook as a trade and would take the skins and sell them to the leather tanners for him and buy his clothes, since not a single one would do business with Naruto himself. His traps are impressive to say the least. Coming up with traps that outdid ours has become a game for him, not to mention his accuracy with the bow he made is amazing. It all has been working out very well. And the hunter skills he has learned from us have paid off in more ways than just as a means for him to provide for himself. The tone of Dog's voice intrigued Zenitsu. What do you mean not just a means to provide for himself? Well, he has been, how do I say this, the protector of the red light district. If anyone causes trouble for his one-e-sans while he is in the village, then that person will come face to face with a half-dozen arrows. And if he hears about an incident while he is out hunting, then he will pay a visit to whoever was responsible. And let me tell you, he is very skilled with his hunting knife. The icy tone of Dog's voice and the hint of pride is all the evidence that it didn't end well for the perpetrators. Wait, I am confused, are saying that the vigilante that has been ruling over the red light district is Naruto? Asked the Hokage in shock. Both of the Anbu nod in confirmation. Zenitsu can almost see the smiles on their faces. Matching the one he himself had, proud of his newly discovered cousin. But a question had formed in his head. If Naruto is so skilled, why was he running from that mob? He should have been able to at least protect himself. Weasel shook his head. Naruto was never up front, and one drunken adult or two from afar with a bow and arrow or a sleeping man already tried down with your face hidden is very different from facing over 200 drunk and angry villagers. Zenitsu had to agree with that logic, but still it was impressive to say the least, and it made him even more adamant to take the boy, but the Hokage saw the look in Zenitsu's face. Making eye contact with Zenitsu, the Hokage spoke. Well, it looks like he will make a good addition to the Anbu when he is old enough. Do not think that will excuse the two of you for not telling me though. Both of the men hung their heads in defeat, while Zenitsu met the Hokage's stare and smirked, almost to say this isn't over, old man. But if Naruto is such a good hunter, why does he wear that orange jumpsuit? Asked the Hokage. He expected one of his Anbu to answer, but was surprised when Zenitsu spoke. It was a gift from a young girl he had saved just after getting out of the hospital last year. She was being bullied by several older children, and Naruto stepped in at her defense. In the resulting beating, his clothes were torn and ripped, so she bought it for him as thanks. It was all she could afford, I would guess, but he only wears it in the village. Something about showing her that he is grateful and to say no hard feelings. Apparently once they were found by the girl's caregiver, she was dragged away and he was blamed for her injuries. Later a pair of the girl's clansmen hunted him down and gave him a serious beating. Dog was shivering. He hadn't known why Naruto wore that orange jacket, but after hearing it explained to the Hokage, he was filled with fury. This is bullshit. He spat. Sensei must be rolling in his grave after all this. The village he loved so much, torturing his only son like this daily is unforgivable. He saved that girl and they reward him with a beating is unacceptable. He turned to Zenitsu. Do you know which clan this girl is from? Zenitsu cocked an eyebrow. So he has had a Kakashi, should have known after that Raiten jutsu. No. Not like I would tell you if I did. He wears that jacket as a symbol for that girl, showing that he has forgiven them. I am continuously impressed by my cousin's ability to forgive after so much. I agree with you, dog, he is much smarter than people give him credit and he knows that the girl is not responsible for anything. In fact, I wouldn't be surprised if he had a little bit of a crush on her after she bandaged him up and bought that jacket. It was the most kindness he has been shown by a stranger in his young life, and if you go and attack them now, what message does that send? MMHMM. Anyway, I understand where you are coming from. I was furious after he told me about his life at Ichiraku's, but after hearing about her and seeing the way you two have looked out for him, I know I was right about this village. Besides, I don't think that Namikaze would want his last student killing any members of his village, no matter how much they deserved it. Hahadik. This time was the Hokage's turn to look shocked at Zenitsu's ability to sniff out their secrets. Kakashi took off his mask, it no longer serving any real purpose, and looks at the samurai. How do you keep doing that? That is the third time tonight. Asked Kakashi. Zenitsu just shook his head and chuckled. I am the vice captain of the 2nd division. It's unwise to let a counterintelligence specialist anywhere near your secrets. The Hokage was now gaping like a fish as he stared at the young man no older than his youngest son. Then Weasel spoke up, his curiosity getting the better of him. What is the 2nd division exactly? You said that back at the raiment stand too. It is the closest thing you will find to the Anbu in the land of iron. Weasel just cocked his head to the side, not satisfied with that answer. Zenitsu sighed and continued. Basically, it started out as a group of samurai who had a great deal of skill in tracking and scouting, but later as they scouted they caught enemy samurai or shinobi that were doing the same thing or setting up ambushes, and they were put in charge of holding and interrogating them, becoming the jailers and interrogators of enemy combatants, much like your T&I division. Much later, after the Second Shinobi World War, a few survivors from Uchiha made it to the land of iron asking for refuge. The shogun at the time took pity on us and let us stay, including my mother and her jonin sensei. There were also a few others with ninja training, mostly of genin rank, that were put in charge of guiding civilians out of the village. Zenitsu paused to let the little history lesson sink in until he continued. To repay the debt they felt to the shogun, they swore fealty to him and tried to serve with the other samurai, but were shunned. But the captain of the 2nd division at the time saw the use of the shinobi and asked them to work with him in expanding the 2nd division's skill set into espionage and counterintelligence. My mother's sensei took the role as that subdivision's leader and later rose to the rank of vice captain. It has been the role of the vice captain to be the leader of that subdivision ever since, due to the fact that it quickly proved to be an invaluable asset during the Third Shinobi World War. With shinobi trying to use our lands as a shortcut to enemy lines. We needed a way to know if certain shinobi villages planned to cross our borders. My mother later rose to the same position during the Third Shinobi World War when her squad stopped a regiment of Iowa shinobi from crossing our border and maintaining our neutrality. I believe they were reinforcements for some force near your border, some bridge I think. Iowa was furious, but after we proved that they had knowing planned to cross without our permission and ignored our orders to leave. Thanks to evidence presented by the 2nd Division's newest vice captain, they could do nothing but beg our forgiveness and swear it wouldn't happen again. I took the place of my mother as the vice captain about 2 years ago when she retired early to train the younger members of the clan and anyone else that wants to be a member of the 2nd Division. It has become standard practice for those of the Uzumaki clan to join that or the medical division, as our skills in sealing and medical jutsu has proven to be invaluable. The 3 shinobi stood in awe of Zen'ichi's story. Kakashi in particular seemed to be the most affected. Zen'ichi just sat in his chair and waited for the questions to start flowing like he knew they would. He was surprised when Weasel was the first to speak and by his question. "How did you get the promotion? I mean it couldn't have been because of your mother, you must have earned." "Well, it's a little of both. After the breakout of the civil war in the Land of Water, a group of Kekkei Genkai users fled to the Land of Iron, much like my clan did, and I lead my squad to meet and escort them to safety. We later were ambushed by Kiri Hunter Nin and had to fight them off. I ordered my squad to get the refugees to safety and I remained behind to guard their retreat. I fought off most of the Hunter Nin but was attacked by a Kiri ninja that looked like he was born from a shark. He was an excellent swordsman and managed to give me this scar before I pulled out my trump card and forced him to flee. I then made my way back to my squad safely at our border base. The Yuki clan matriarch was among them and thanked me by healing my wounds with Suiton-style medical jutsu that with my Uzumaki blood healed my chest up in a matter of days instead of months, given the size of the wound. I was later recognized by the Shogun Mifune-sama. When my mother announced her retirement and the division captain put my name forward as her replacement, many of the other traditional clans argued against my promotion, but after testimony from the Yuki clan and my own squad, Mifune-sama agreed with my captain and approved my promotion. His reasoning being that the child of Uzumaki Uryu the Crimson Wolf would have the skill to fill the position, and after I fought off a dozen Hunter Nin and Kisame Hoshigaki, who I later learned was the ninja who cut me, and taking care of the quiet interrogation of the refugees into the 2nd Division in one capacity or another proved to him that he was right. So like I said, a little of both. Which leads me to why I am here as the vice captain and the head of the counterintelligence branch. I was sent to meet with you to discuss the militancy portions of the alliance Mifune-sama asked for and negotiate with you for the betterment of our land security. I know the true state of your military Hokage as well as the state of our own. So it was logical for me to come. The 2 younger men look over at Zen'ichi, a man their age, but on a completely different level. The Hokage stared at the samurai and thought to himself, this young man is no older than Asuma and yet is of equal or just below my strongest student and has a mind that would give Shikaku a run for his money. We need this man to be our ally. The Hokage shifted in his seat. I received Mifune-san's letter and read it about 3 times and nowhere does it explain why he wants this allegiance now after years of neutrality by the Land of Iron. It would be a sign to the other nations that you are going to be stepping out and having a bigger hand in the world. He asking for an explanation. Yes, well, after my battle with the Kiri shinobi, rumors of an Uzumaki in the Land of Iron started to spread. As I don't wear a helmet, my features were on display for all to see. My captain and Mifune-sama are worried that if the truth that the Uzumaki clan is still alive and growing strong once again were to be discovered, we will be on the receiving end of an all-out invasion, just like the Land of Whirlpools, and are seeking ways to strengthen our military force. I suggested that we form an alliance with Konoha and the Land of Fire. Mifune-sama was worried that an alliance would send just that kind of message put after I told him about how you all marched out to avenge Uzushio, which had been a close ally at the time. He changed his mind. Loyalty is a big deal to him and what you did in the name of our memory moved him greatly. The message asking for an audience with you was sent shortly after. When we received your reply, I was sent immediately. I made good time and arrived a day early and decided to visit Lady Mito and Kushina's graves, but instead ran into their living legacy in more ways than one. Zen'ichi drops hints about the Kyuubi with a disapproving tone, but the Hokage was too busy thinking about the possibilities of an alliance with the samurai of the Land of Iron. The Hokage had known Mifune for a long time and had known Mifune's father and know both to be proud, strong, and loyal men set deeply in their sense of right and wrong, but as a leader, one could not think of the well-being of only one clan, a problem he himself was facing, and one nagging thought kept popping up in his mind. If the traditional samurai clans were against letting someone of shinobi decadence rise to a high rank, then how will they work with actual shinobi, and how will the chain of command work? This could cause major problems in the long run and leave us weakened in a time of need. His Anbu on the other end had different thoughts completely. Both had seen the power that Zenitsu wielded, and both know that if this man was only the second in command in his division, then the captain must be a true monster, and then all the others that they lead, although would be weaker, but still they would make strong allies. The Hokage was the first to speak, though raising his doubts for Zenitsu to answer. So Mifune-san truly wants to end 3 generations of neutrality just for the Uzumaki clan, just one clan. I find that hard to believe. As a leader, one cannot make such actions without consulting his advisors. Zenitsu nodded his head in agreement. You were worried about the other samurai clans. Well, you don't have to be. Before he sent you that letter, he called all his military and civilian leadership for a war council. Many were anxious about why the meeting was called. Once all parties were gathered, Mifune-sama started in about the call by the younger generation, my generation, to end the isolationism that we had wrapped ourselves in like a child does a blanket when scared at night. He spoke about the fall of Uchiha and how it had been an unjust and unprovoked atrocity, and its repeating in the Land of Water. He then spoke about what my squad had done, about the rumors of the Uzumaki in the Land of Iron, and that it is only a matter of time until the truth, that it is not just one Uzumaki, but the clan itself thriving and growing strong once again. He then spoke about his intentions to end the isolation with an alliance with Konoha and the Land of Fire, who have proven time and again that you will honor our wishes to stay out of shinobi matters until now. He told them about what you did in our memory and that had calmed any doubts he had about an alliance. When he was finished, the council erupted into chaos and quickly split between those in favor and those against. Surprisingly, there were far more samurai clans in favor of the alliance than we had expected. Finally, after an hour of back and forth, the head of the Kenpachi clan and the captain of the 11th division, which is made up of traditional samurai and frontline troops and have been the rivals of the 2nd division since their inception, stepped forward and, to everyone's surprise, embraced me as a brother, then turned to the assembly and spoke out in defense of our plan, supporting it as the correct course of action. This man, mind you, had spoken out loudest against me become a vice captain. Like it was his mission in life, and for the most part finds anything ninja distasteful, to put it mildly, but what he did and said moved the whole assembly and lead to a unanimous vote in favor of the alliance. You have nothing to fear from the traditional clans causing any problems, they back this plan completely. Once committed, only an act of kami can change a samurai's mind, though I can't promise anything when alcohol is involved. He chuckled. The two Anbu were unfamiliar with the state of samurai politics, so didn't understand the gravity of what Zenitsu had just said, but the Hokage did, and the look on his face told them all they needed to know: the impossible had happened. The Hokage just stared at Zenitsu, completely stunned by what he had just heard, a look of shock stuck on his face. He had met the Kenpachi clan head when he had taken Minato to meet Mifune when he was chosen to be his successor. That man hated shinobi with a passion. To hear that he had not only agreed to an alliance with a shinobi village, but had basically pushed the vote, though, was mind-boggling. The Hokage asks out of pure shock. What did he say to move the whole of the Land of Iron? Zenitsu nodded, understanding the Hokage's reaction, even he had been surprised. So much so that he almost attacked the man when he embraced him. He said, and I quote, "How can we call ourselves samurai and then forsake our brothers who defend our country by our sides? Throwing them out into the snowy night to protect ourselves from their enemies? No, our enemies, for any enemy of theirs is and is enemy of us all, for they are part of us, proud samurai of the Land of Iron. I vote yay. Let those baby-killing bastards came at us, we will feed them samurai steel." The emotion and conviction in his speech moved everyone. All the samurai present took up the call, and even the civilians were cheering. Afterwards, he approached me and told me that although we had our differences in the past, it was nothing personal. He had only thought that I was too young for the responsibilities as a vice captain, but he was pleasantly proven wrong. The Spirals of Iron, as he calls us, had proven ourselves in his and his clan's book and was proud to call me a brother. The Hokage, if it was possible, looked even more in shock, so much so that his Anbu were worried for his heath, but the thoughts in his head were racing so quickly that he didn't know where to start. "Hokage-sama, are you alright?" asked a worried weasel, snapping him out of his thoughts. Zenitsu don't know what, the Hokage dry swallows, what are the terms of the alliance? I have a few things I would like to add, but I want to hear what you want first. Zenitsu smiles, hearing the new level of respect that the Hokage addresses him with. He takes out a scroll and places it on the Hokage's desk for review. That is the treaty in its entirety, but the important parts as we are concerned is the terms of military support. which basically after all the legal mumbo-jumbo, states that you will answer any call to arms from the shogun of the Land of Iron, Mifune-sama, and we will do the same if you the Hokage call upon us. The movement of our troops, though the Land of Fire's borders will go unchallenged, and your shinobi will receive the same treatment in the Land of Iron. Though I suggest that you don't expect to be welcomed with open arms at the beginning, the people of Iron are a slow group to change, and after 3 generations of isolation, it will take time for them to get used to outsiders in our land on a normal basis and not under guard. Third, the fair trade of information of a military nature to ensure both of our country's safety. As well as a few trade agreements that the merchant guilds wanted added, but I am sure that your shinobi will enjoy the metalwork of the Land of Iron it the best hands down since Uchiha fell, and one of the civilians my mother led to safety was the Uzumaki clan's master weapons craftsman, and she took on a few apprentices in the Land of Iron passing the arts, and I am sure you personally should know of the craftsmanship of Uchiha, as we did make your predecessors armors and weapons after all. The Hokage looked over the scroll as Zenitsu spoke and saw that what he said was true. Lots of legal mumbo-jumbo that the politicians could argue over, but the terms for the military were just as he described and the Hokage approved, but he didn't let Zenitsu know that. He thought about it all for a few minutes as the samurai waited to hear his terms. These terms are most generous, and I find them very agreeable to say the least. I would like to add that a garrison of samurai be housed in the village to assist in its defense if the need should arise. That could be arranged, I think, but a few squads of your shinobi will have to do the same, if that isn't a problem. No, it wouldn't. Also, I would like to ask for a few things off the record from you personally if that would be okay. You can always decline, of course. It will not affect my decision about the treaty. Zenitsu nodded. First, you will stay in the village in the first few years of this alliance in charge of the samurai garrison here, and that you will train Naruto as well. I wouldn't mind staying to do such, and if this is an attempt to stop me from taking Naruto to the Land of Iron, then good luck. If Naruto asks me to do so I will, but for the time being I will train him in the village. The Hokage's eyes in defeat, he had tried. Hopefully Naruto still loves the village enough to stay. Okay, I understand. Also, the second thing is something difficult for me to admit, but I would like for you to try and stop the coup that is being planned by the Uchiha clan. Now it was Zenitsu's turn to be surprised, and he wasn't the only one at that. Kakashi looked over at Weasel as shock. While Weasel looked at the Hokage with what would be a surprised look if he wasn't wearing a mask. Zenitsu looked over at Weasel. I'm guessing you're a member of the Uchiha with the red eyes you showed off to scare those drunken ninja. I thought you might be, but you could have easily been part of the Uchiha clan, but now I know for sure. The question now is, where do you stand? With us, or do I kill you now and then end this before it starts by ending the Uchiha altogether? Zenitsu's tone is icy as his hand moved to the hilt of his sword ready to draw. He would and could do it if necessary too. He disliked such action, but as a samurai, loyalty to your home and country were a big part of who he was, and anyone that would betray that trust was someone he would kill without mercy. The Hokage saw this and was taken aback. Their treaty was not finalized, and for all intents and purposes they were not allies yet, but that didn't stop Zenitsu from acting like they were, and he had such a bad first impression of the village with Naruto. Weasel took off his mask and looked at Zenitsu. If I was ever to betray the village, I would ask you to end me as well. My loyalty is with the village, but that doesn't mean I don't want to save my clan. I told the Hokage about my father and the clan elders' plans because I wanted to find a peaceful stop to it first and have been working as a double agent against my clan to stall for time in the hopes that Hokage-sama could find a way to end this without any violence, or I guess you having to carry out that threat now. I'm sorry Kakashi that I didn't tell you, but Shisui and I wanted to stop this from happening with the least amount of people finding out. My name is Uchiha Itachi, clan heir and the son of Uchiha Fugaku, the current clan head, and if you stop my clan I would be eternally grateful. Itachi gets on his hands and knees begging Zenitsu to accept the Hokage's request. Please, I beg you, help me stop my father and the others. I know this might sound like a lot, but they are not bad. Many are just frightened of the changes in the village and the way the world treats those with Kekkei Genkai now. Many clans are being killed off in all but the major shinobi villages, and even in Kiri they are now too. Please help me before it comes to violence. I do not want my clan to be the cause of a civil war in the village, which would most likely lead to a fourth Nin war. Zenitsu looks at the young man and then at the Hokage. I will try my best, and if I can't stop them peacefully, I and my samurai that will be stationed in the village will deal with them. The helmets that are part of the standard battle armor have tinted glass to protect us from the Sharingan, other Dojutsu and Jinjutsu that relies on eye contact. We will be able to take them quickly. Stand Itachi, I will help in any way I can, and if it comes to violence, then you, the young ones and any that prove themselves against this foolishness, will be spared this I swear, even if I have to move you all to the Uzumaki estates in the Land of Iron to do so. Itachi looks up at Zenitsu, tears flowing from his eyes. The emotional stress from the whole ordeal taking its toll on him, hope returning to his eyes, but Kakashi on the other hand is angry and wants an answer to why. Itachi, why is your father doing this? Your clan is loved above all other by the villagers, second only to the Senju. Where did this come from? As Itachi stood, he looked over at one of his two closest friends and wiped the last of the tears from his eyes. Naruto isn't the only one to be treated badly after the Kyuubi's attack. My clan has been slowly pushed into our compound because of the mistrust of the villagers and the other shinobi. Many remember Uchiha Madara could control the beast and blame us for its attack. My father worries about the safety of the clan because of it, and the less noble of the clan are angry that the villagers are ignoring us now, and second to the Senju has always been a sore issue with some. It's all just reaching ahead. Kakashi sighed. He understood where Itachi was coming from. After the Kyuubi's attack, even he had noticed that the Uchiha were being treated differently, but he had no idea it had gotten that bad. Also, Hokage-sama Danzo approached me with an offer that if I eliminate my clan, he will spare my little brother. The Hokage scowled. Let me deal with him, okay? So Zenitsu Dono, do you agree to my requests? Zenitsu nods. Good, when do you want to tell the village council about this new alliance? In 2 days, if that is okay. I am tired from my journey here and would like to rest and clean up before meet with your council. Also, I would like to borrow a messenger hawk to send word to Mifune-sama and my captain that they can expect your support and can send the ambassador to the capital to start the formal negotiations with the fire daimyo. That sounds like a good idea. I will send a hawker over to the inn you are staying at in the morning with one of our fastest hawks. Thank you, but I am staying at the Uzumaki temple here in the village. I hope isn't a problem, and I would like to start making it habitual again. It would be a good place to garrison the samurai that will be here anyway. By all means, if you need any help, let me know. I apologize for its date, it was damaged during the Kyuubi's attack and never repaired. Zenitsu waves his hand. It is no matter, it will give me something to pass the time and a chance to get to know Naruto better. I am sure he would like to help and I can start his physical training that way. Also, Itachi, if you could drop by, I would like to talk to you further. Itachi nods as Zenitsu stands and holds his hand out to the Hokage, who takes it, they shake, and Zenitsu walks over to Naruto, picking him up. The Hokage walks him out. I want to tell Naruto about the Kyuubi, he has a right and a need to know for his safety and mine if I am to train him. The Hokage hesitates, but after a moment nods. You're right, I tried to hide it from him and it has brought nothing but pain to him. Maybe it is time to try a different way, I have failed him for too long. Also, although it is completely up to you, I would like Kakashi and Itachi to be moved into the normal Jonin forces and serve as a go-between for the samurai and ninja in the coming days. Also, I would like to relieve who they are to Naruto so he doesn't lose the closest thing to friends he has in the village. I will think about. Thank you, good night. No, thank you. You have helped me far more than I have helped you. Zenitsu simple nods and starts walking to the Uzumaki temple with Naruto. Pour it out. Naruto wakes up and rubs the sleep from his eyes. He looks around, not sure where he is or how he got there. After a few minutes he remembers the night before and falling asleep in the arms of his new relative. He gets up and notices that there is a large leather coat covering him. Upon closer inspection he notices that it is Zenitsu's. He balls up the coat and stands up. Walking over to the doorway that, unlike his first thought, it wasn't open, but the door was missing completely. He walks out into the courtyard and surveys the state of the gardens. To say that they were overgrown was an understatement of the year. The shrubs were completely wild, grass had overgrown everywhere, and everything was covered in vine. Not many people know that Naruto has a small flower box outside his window in his apartment and that gardening had grown into a pastime. He had found that he liked it after cultivating a vegetable garden hidden in the forest to make getting produce easier. He walked through the courtyard and exploring the wild garden and notices the obvious states of neglect the buildings around him had fallen in. Naruto wondered why a samurai of his cousin's status would be in such a dump until he turned the corner of a crushed building and saw a large temple with a spiral burned perfectly into the hardened oak doors. For some reason Naruto felt drawn to the temple the second he laid eyes on it. Slowly he walked up to the door and tentatively places his hand on it. After a moment he pushes on the door and is surprised by how easy it was to open, it was very large after all. The hinges don't even squeak, despite the decay of the other buildings this one had withstood the touch of time. Naruto enters the temple finding Zenitsu sitting in the center of the room in front of a simple shrine with incense burning in a bowl of sand. He walks up and sits next to his cousin silently. There was a feeling of peace that even Naruto's hyperactivity was calmed by. Without opening his eyes, Zenitsu knew that Naruto was next to him, the seals on the door wouldn't let anyone but an Uzumaki into the sanctuary. The two sit in silence for several minutes until Zenitsu spoke. Did you sleep well? I tried to find a room that's still at tatami mats, but most of them were rotten. Naruto nodded, not wanting to disturb the peace that was coursing through him at the moment. I see that this is your first time here. I am not surprised much was kept from you. Though I am a little surprised at how long you slept, it's already noon. Naruto listened in silence as Zenitsu talked. The unfamiliar feeling of serenity had filled him and didn't want it to stop. Zenitsu looked at his cousin and smiled. The look of calm and peace was engraved on his face, not the mask he had on last night when the two met. I'm sorry Naruto, but you will have to respond at some point. Don't worry, the feel will not stop until you leave the shrine. Naruto looks up at him. I hope so, I really like this. I haven't felt like this in, he pauses, ever. I think it's been too long. Running from mobs, the glares from people I don't even know, and the beatings all the time. Tears start running down his face. He looks up at his cousin and asks, is this what it feels like to be happy? Zenitsu is completely taken aback, not expect Naruto to ask something of such magnitude. He watches Naruto and sees that he really wants an answer. Naruto, how you feel when you are happy is different for everyone. I could tell you what happy feels like for you because it's different for me. This feeling that you feel right now at the construct of the seals that are in place in the shrine. They are designed to install a feeling of peace and calming in the Uzumaki that come here to pray and meditate. I am so sorry that this is the first time you have left at peace, and I promise to do everything I can to ensure that you can feel this way outside of the shrine in your everyday life. He takes a breath. Naruto, there are several things you and I have to discuss. As you know from last night, I am a high-ranking samurai in the Land of Iron, and that I am here in Konoha on a mission. That mission was to negotiate with the Hokage the terms of an alliance between our two countries. Zenitsu stopped to let Naruto grasp what he was talking about. Now the Hokage asked me to stay in the village and lead the samurai that will be garrisoned in the village when the treaty is finalized. He also asked me, as a fellow Uzumaki, to train you and teach you what it means to be an Uzumaki. As is your birthright, if you are willing I will start teaching you today. So Naruto, do wish to know about your mother and her clan? Naruto sat in silence and shock. So everything I remember from last night wasn't a dream. I have a clan, and Zenitsu is my cousin, but no, he is asking me if I want to learn about them. He watched the smoke rise from the incense in front of him. Yes, I want to know about my family. What were they like? Why am I alone? And why didn't Hokage Jiji tell me? Well, the first two will be easy to explain, but the third one will be a little harder. I think the Hokage didn't want you to know because he thought not know would have been easier. I know that is not a good answer, and that is something the two of you will have to work out later. As who your clan is and why you are alone I can explain. He paused to gather his thought. The Uzumaki clan is one of the oldest and strongest of the shinobi clans in existence. We can trace our line back to the time of the Sage of Six Paths. We are masters of Fuinjutsu, the art of sealing, and of many other shinobi arts. I personally am not a master in the terms of our clan, but compared to those not of our clan, I would be considered a master. I have much still to learn in the art that our people have progressed to levels not though humanly possible. Sealing is in our blood. After generations of study and practice on both objects such as scrolls and on ourselves, we have developed an almost symbiotic connection to it. We can instinctively understand what simple seals can do without any teaching or experience. Also, in using them on ourselves for generations to increase our chakra, vitality and recovery rate, we started to develop the effects without the seals in place. To help you understand you, he pulls a small knife from the small of his back and cuts himself on the palm of his hand. The small cut starts to heal almost instantly. As you can see, I healed very quickly. That is the effect in which I spoke of. All Uzumaki have these abilities as they are an artificial Kekkei Genkai. With training you will be able to use complex seals and make them with ease. By the time you are old enough to attend the Ninja Academy, you will be able to seal almost anything you want. As for why you are alone, I asked a Hokage what happened to your mother, and he told me that she was killed when the Kyuubi attacked the village shortly after giving birth to you. He didn't say, but I would guess that your father died that same night. It is fairly common for your generation here in this village. Naruto was in awe after hearing what his clan was capable of, but he wanted to know what happened to them all. So how did my mother end up in Konoha if our clan is from the Land of Iron? We are not from the Land of Iron originally, but from the Land of Whirlpools to the southeast. Our ability with seals was so feared by some that they started the Second Shinobi World War to kill us all off. My mother, your aunt, with the help of her Jonin sensei and some other low-rank shinobi, mostly Genin and Chunin, snuck about a dozen civilians out of the village that we called home Yuzushiogakure no Sado. My mother and the others with her made their way to the Land of Iron. The then shogun of the Land of Iron welcomed my mother and her company with welcome arms. We are been members of Land of Iron ever since. My mother told me that your mother was sent to Konoha to take care of Lady Mito, the wife of the Shodaime, in her old age. We never made contact out of the fear of discovery and that we would bring our enemies to our new friends, but that is no longer the case. Not sure what to say, Naruto sat in silence. He tried to bring his hand together, but Zenitsu's coat was in the way, reminding Naruto that was carrying it. He hands it to Zenitsu, who takes it and unrolls it to hang it on the wall. Naruto watched and stared at the spiral on the back. Why is that spiral on the back of your coat if you just now are making an alliance with a village? That is because it is in fact the Uzumaki clan emblem. When Konoha was first founded, our clan acted as moderators for the Senju and Uchiha clans and helped them with the forming of the village. The truth is that although we were a minor village as we were made up of a single clan, Uchiha was in fact the first shinobi village before Konoha, and the Shodaime wanted our help in how the village would be formed. As thanks, our clan emblem was made part of the standard uniform to show thanks. I see. Naruto wasn't sure if he was okay with that. Here he was a member of the clan that helped to make Konoha, and not only did no one know the truth, but he was outright hated by the general populace. For reasons he didn't understand. Zenitsu could see the thoughts that played their way through the boy's mind. Should I try to talk to him about the villagers? I would have to explain to him the Kyuubi and the Hokage hasn't given me permission to do so, not like I'll really care. The man might have been the shinobi no kami once, but that was a long time ago, and I have my own tricks I can pull if he want to be violent. Zenitsu thought to himself, conflicted as what to do. On one hand he had what he thought would be best for his little cousin and what was best for his mission. He had a responsibility to make sure that this treaty was a success. It was because of him the land of iron was under threat now, and it had also been his idea in the first place. As the two of them sat in the shrine quietly focused on their own thoughts, their stomachs had thoughts of their own, and both growled loudly, causing both Uzumaki to look at each other, embarrassed. Then after a second they both laugh, lightening the mood that had fallen over them. I don't have anything to eat here yet. What do you want to do for dinner? He asked Naruto. We could go to my apartment and eat. I have some food there and it shouldn't take too long to prepare. Okay, sounds like a plan, and I have been curious about where it is you live. You said it is the red light district, but that only perks my curiosity. He says as he stands up. You are very nosy, you know that. Naruto responds in a light tone as he too stands up. I'm not nosy, just inquisitive. It's an Uzumaki thing. I am sure you yourself have found yourself just wondering about anything and everything at once. It's part of why we are so good with seals. We have minds that hunger for knowledge, and it leads to some nasty headaches. Naruto nods his agreement and starts walking to the door, followed by Zenitsu. So that's why I get those headaches every so often. I have an herbal treatment for it if you want any. One of the girls near my apartment taught it to me. Thank you, we have an herbal tea that works, but I didn't bring any with me when I left. The two left the shrine, and as Zenitsu had told Naruto, the feeling of peace slow faded away and was instead replaced with a feeling of contentment. Naruto looked up at his cousin about to ask the question, but as he did realize that this feeling from talking with Zenitsu and learn about his clan. Naruto led his cousin through the village and to his apartment. They crossed the paths of many more shinobi than normal. Naruto, are there normally this many shinobi in the village? I never really paid any mind to the shinobi. Most leave me alone, and the only ones that bother me are pretty weak. I think that once I get to the academy I would be able to beat them, but until then I am still at their mercy. Naruto, I know that you are a capable hunter and that you are the one that has been watching over the red light district. It's not too hard for me to figure out after all. What I don't understand is why do you put up with their treatment? You can leave, you can fight back, but you don't. Why not? I don't like the villagers, but I respect the Hokages and the other shinobi of the village. I want to be like the Yondaime and protect the village. I didn't have much a reason before, but this was the place that took care of my mother, so I might as well take care of it. Once I prove that I am strong and earn their respect, things will change. Not everyone in the village is a total asshole after all. Zenitsu smiled, impressed by his cousin's wisdom once again. Then his smile turned evil as he started to tease him. Not all bad, you mean like the raven-haired girl with the lavender eyes that got you that orange kunai magnet for you? Naruto started to blush at the mention of the girl that he had saved. You're going to keep teasing me about that, aren't you? Until the day you die, little cousin. I will do it on your first date and then again at your wedding and every other chance I get. Zenitsu said with an evil grin. Great, sighed Naruto. That's what older cousins are for. The two were watched by the shinobi of the village. They all had heard about the samurai that faced down a mob the night before to protect the Kitsune-gaki. Many had gone to the street outside Ichiraku's and saw firsthand the gash that ran the length of the street. It was an impressive feat to say the least, and for it to have been caused by a samurai was surprising for most of the ninja. Some of the older generations know of the talent of the samurai from the land of iron and that they were not someone you fought without some serious resolve. The inhabitants of the Sanro Mountains were not to be trifled with. Then the biggest news came out later that day, that the samurai in question was in fact a descendant of the survivor of Uchiha and had claimed the Kitsune-gaki as his younger cousin. meaning that a true Uzumaki still lived in the village and whose clan was still alive and well hidden out in the world. Some of the parents of the other children Naruto's age heard the news, and quietly talk was spreading amongst them that Naruto was in fact their classmate Kushina's son. Some, particularly a pair of women who were the old teammates of Kushina, felt great shame not knowing about the boy and not taking care of him in the memory of their lost friend. They all had known that she was pregnant, but though the child had been lost during the Kyuubi's attack like his mother. None of them know who the father was. Kushina would never say when asked. The two Uzumaki continued until they reached the border of the red light district when they were set upon by the working girls. Naruto was for the most part ignored, but Zenitsu on the other hand was having a hard time keeping them at bay. They slowly made their way towards Naruto's apartment when a loud yell quieted all the girls around them. "All of you leave that man alone. If anyone gets him, it's me." The girls all looked over at the source of the noise. After seeing how it was, they all started to leave, grumbling about loudmouth stealing a good night. After the girls departed, Zenitsu was able to see who it was that had yelled out, and what he saw caused the powerful samurai to dry gulp audibly. Standing in front of him, a beautiful woman that looked about his age, about 5'6" and curves to die for, with purple hair styled in a spiky fan, hazel eyes and a Konoha hit eye tied to her forehead with a happy smirk on her face. She had on a tan trench coat that was open in the front, relieving that she wore nothing but a full-body metal mesh and a dark orange miniskirt that didn't do much to cover her. Her legs were adored with steel shin guards cover her sandals as well. Naruto looks up at his cousin and see the look on his face and smiles evilly. "Anko Wani, how are you today?" he asked. Zenitsu looks at Naruto and shakes his head no, but Naruto smiles and nods yes, time for some payback. He thought to himself. Zenitsu watches his cousin, damn, I shouldn't tease Naruto so much anymore. The woman walks up to them and kneels in front of Naruto, showing off her cleavage to Zenitsu with a smile. "How am I? I should be asking you the same thing after last night. Though it looks like you are fine, if I didn't know any better I would say you're better, then fine." What happened? As she stood up, she teases Zenitsu with her coat. "Well, Zenitsu Nai saved me and took me to the Uzumaki shrine. It is really nice there. I am taking him back to my apartment for dinner. If you want to come along, I can tell you more over some food." She looked Zenitsu up and down and smiled. "I would like that, Naruto, but it would be impolite for me to just join you spending time getting to know your new relative, if what I have heard on the street is to be believed." Zenitsu looked at Anko, "Damn you kid, you take me here and then put this beauty in front of me like this and invite her to dinner, you are so going to pay?" Zenitsu shakes his head. "No, it's fine. You obviously know Naruto very well, and from what I can gather from my little time here is that anyone that it is good to Naruto is a person worth getting to know. It would be pleasure to have you with us. You can tell me all of Naruto's embarrassing little secrets. I have 6 years of teasing to catch up on." Naruto hadn't thought about that and started to panic a little. Knowing Anko, she would love nothing more to have a new partner in making his life an embarrassing mess. Even though he was young, Naruto wasn't stupid. It took him a few weeks, but he learned what was special about this area of the village and what the girls here did for work, and although Anko wasn't a working girl, she spent a lot of time here and she loved to spend her time in between missions messing with Naruto. Anko was a little surprised. She was expecting him to treat her like every other man in the village did. Not many know that Anko's mother had been a geisha and had worked here in Konoha's red light district. Her mother had pushed her hard so she could escape the life she had led and supported her during her early years at the academy until she died. "I would love to fill you in. You're right, 6 years is a lot of time to catch up on. I would love to help you and I need to thank you for helping the little Gaki last night," she said as she took his arm. Zenitsu, to his credit, wasn't even fazed by her forward actions and shameless tone as he went to adjust his sword so it would still be in reach with her next to him. He was surprised when he found it already in the perfect place for him to draw it if needed. He looked at her and she smiled back. He returned her smile and started to following Naruto again as he had already started walking again, muttering about snakes and needing another belt. Now that Anko was with them, they made much better time and arrives at Naruto's apartment quickly. Naruto unlocked the door and walked in, turning on the lights. Followed by Zenitsu and Anko. Anko, having been in the apartment before, just strolled in and kicked off her sandals next to Naruto's. Zenitsu unclasped his boots and followed the two of them in, but stopped in his tracks after he was past the entryway. He stared at the half-dozen pelts that were arranged in the small living room. All of which were from dangerous predatory animals that many considered more like monsters than animals. The largest on the floor is a rug. He studied them and started to identify each one at a time. "The last one though blow his mind. Naruto, is that a lightning liger?" he asked, pointing at the largest pelt on the floor, which was white with black zigzagging stripes that resembled lightning. Naruto poked his head out of the kitchen, where he was making a quick dinner for the three of them, with the help of Anko. "I think that it is what Dog Nai called it. It was trying to steal the deer I had caught in one of my traps." He told me they are really rare in this part of the continent and that if I sold it, I would be rich enough to buy a house, but I like to keep the pelts of the kills that almost killed me in the process. The one on floor of my room was a huge bear that tried to eat me, it's even bigger than that one, but it isn't a cool looking, so I put it in there. Zenitsu just shook his head, Naruto was a complete mystery. Just the night before there was a little boy that needed protection, but now here was a skilled hunter that could take down a liger, even if it was a smaller one. Zenitsu know that Kumagakure no Sato listed the lightning liger as a A-class predator, and that anyone that killed one was hailed for their skill. He walked in the kitchen to see Anko and Naruto talking about yesterday and last night. Zenitsu couldn't help but stare at Anko, who had taken her coat off was now nearly naked in her tight wire mesh suit in front of him. Zenitsu noticed the ways her back muscles moved as she cut the vegetables, that they would be eating the mesh just seemed to add to her every movement. He watched her work for several minutes until Naruto snapped him from his trance. Zenitsu Nai, can you help me set the table up? You can go back to staring at Anko Wani after that. Zenitsu looked at his cousin and saw his grin, you little shit, you did that on purpose, he thought as a blush formed on his face. He walked over to take the plates and utensils hiding his blush from Anko and smacked Naruto on the back of his head. Anko for her part was happy to be standing with her back to Zenitsu, hiding her blush from him. Before she thought that he would make a good lay, after the brief from the Hokage that all the Jonin had received about the proposed treaty, but after hearing about how Zenitsu saved Naruto from the boy and how he had taken care of him after that, then about what he had told Naruto earlier that afternoon, she had found herself thinking about him a little more seriously. Maybe I should take Nai-chan's advice, she thought to herself. After about 30 minutes the roast was cooked and the three of them had sat down to eat. Zenitsu waited for Anko to cut off a piece of the roast for him and noticed that this whole time, she had been using a kunai to cut everything. He chuckled to himself. Do you use a kunai to cut everything? He asked in a light tone. She looked over at him with a sly smile. Most of the time I do, they always find their way into my hands like magic. I find it easier to just use them, they are sharp and if they can cut up a roast well enough they will cut an enemy. It's a good way to make sure they are still usable. I hope you wash them before you do, you never know, would want to catch something. Well, I haven't had to worry about that due to some things that had gone on in my life, I am immune to most diseases and toxins. That must be convenient. I guess we will not have to worry about it then. Worry about what? She asked curious. Well, I have seen ninja how blood was poisonous. It would turn into a gas shortly after being spilled and if it got in your eyes or into your body you were screwed. I had seals on my body that protected me, but one of the other samurai was not so lucky, it was a painful death, to say the least. I had to put him out of his misery after we failed to stop the poison from getting to his heart. The tone in which he said that made it apparent that he was troubled by it. Anko and Naruto look at him. Naruto, like anyone else, would feel bad about after hearing that story, but Anko as a ninja knew that wasn't the end of it. There was telling the family of your fallen comrade and the guilt from being the one to kill them, even if it was to stop the pain. She gave him a sympathetic look that he noticed and gave her a small smile in return. That was a long time ago though, and this roast smells great, so let's eat. The three of them dug in and enjoyed the food together. Where Zenitsu answered questions from both Anko and Naruto, and he asked some himself, mostly fishing for embarrassing moments to hold over Naruto late. Much to the boys' displeasure, and Ando just laughed at the two's antics. After a second helping of meat, Anko asked Zenitsu about the treaty. So the Hokage told the Jonin already. I can't say I am surprised, but I thought he would wait to tell you after I talked with the council tomorrow. You know why and the particles about it, I assume. She shook her head. That's why I ask. The Hokage just said that you wanted a treaty and that it would entail for us. Not as to why you wanted it. Well, 2 years ago after the Kiri started the Kekkei Genkai purges, a group of refugees made a run for the land of iron and my team met them. We were attacked by Kiri Hunter Nin and we fought them off, but then Kisame Hoshigaki showed up. I was forced to fight him at my full strength, which broke my helmet and showed my face to the Kiri ninja that were still alive. They escaped after I pushed Hoshigaki back. Ever since then we have been hearing more and more rumors about there being Uzumaki in the land of iron. We feared that an invasion like the one that destroyed Uzushio would be mounted against us and I pushed for an alliance with Konoha. After a lot of pestering, my captain agreed to bring the proposal to Mifune-sama and he later asked me why I thought we needed the alliance. Mifune-sama found my reasoning to be sound and started making preparations for it. So that's why I am here and why Konoha will hopefully be in an alliance with us soon. Naruto looked at his cousin. This was the first time he had heard why the planned alliance was happening. Anko was hoping that it meant that Zenitsu would be in the village for a little longer. She wanted to get to know the man, but also contemplated what an alliance with the land iron would mean. So this whole thing was our fault and plan. Zenitsu nods. So are the samurai going to be in the village much? I don't want to sound like a downer, but samurai and ninja have never really gotten along. She asked. Yes, the Hokage requested it be added to the treaty that a garrison of samurai be in the village. He then asked that be put in charge of them for the first few years of the alliance until everyone grow comfortable with one another. I told him that a group of your fellow ninja would have to do the same, though I don't think that it will be that big a deal. My division will be making up the bulk of the force in the village, and your shinobi will be working with my division mostly in the Land of Iron. We are very ninja-ish in our own way and are more accepting of those from ninja backgrounds. It's mostly made up of Uzumaki and refugees from Kiri nowadays anyway. What members that were from other clans have married in, finding Uzumaki women far more enjoyable to be around. In fact, before us the idea of a female samurai was unheard of, but with ninja they're also kunoichi, and as the samurai learned that being a relationship with a woman that understood the life on the battlefield, relationships became less stressful and stronger. The Land of Iron is becoming very progressive since my mother broke the boundaries between men and women. He said nonchalantly as he continued eating. The shinobi and the shinobi hopeful sat in silence looking at him. Naruto was beside himself that Zenitsu would be training him in the village for the next few years. Even Anko was strangely happy after she learned that he would be in village for some time to come, and she wasn't sure why. They had just met, but she was almost overjoyed hearing that he would be in the village longer. They finished eating and started cleaning up. Zenitsu offered to do the dishes, saying that growing up the cook didn't clean. Naruto, who hated do the dishes, took the offer and went into the living room to relax. Anko offered to help, but he told her that he was alright by himself, after which she insisted with her kunai finding its way into her hand again. Zenitsu let her dry and put them away, saying she know where they went better than him. The two cleaned up together and got to talking about their careers, about what could complicate the alliance, and all the little embarrassing moments Ando had on Naruto. She told him about one time a few months ago about a pair of busty girls, thinking that Naruto, with his whiskers, was the cutest and squeezed him in between their breasts as he turned blue until she saved him from suffocating, hearing that he was in hysterics. He asked her for advice on the council. Even if he was well versed in the village's military strength, he was almost ignorant of the everyday coming and goings of the village. He asked about the politic state of the village and asked if there was anything he should know before meeting with the village council the next day. Ando then make a sarcastic comment about what the elders would say after they learned that the Uzumaki were still alive. Zenitsu looked at Anko and just started laughing as she did an impersonation of the Hokage telling the council and how quickly the civilian council would try to sell their daughters to get to the clan's wealth and power. He then replied jokingly, calling her councilwoman Midarashi, that the Uzumaki clan wouldn't be leaving the Land of Iron just for their daughters, they wanted their sons too. He said it with such a straight face that she erupted into laughter. After that the two joked back and forth until they finished all the dishes. Watch out for Shimura Danzo, he will prove to be a major player in the way the council will vote. The civilian side normally votes with him. He has a small group of Anbu that are loyal only to him called the Root, and you should watch your ass when dealing with him. He has been trying to steal Hihat from Sarutobi-sama forever now. The other one to watch out for is the Uchiha clan head. Ever since the Kyubis attacked Danzo and the other elders have suspected the Uchiha of the attack and have had the whole clan under surveillance using Danzo's route, making him very paranoid to a fault. The representative from the merchant guilds will be a problem as they like their little monopoly in the village, they will not let you bring in competition, and if what I have heard about the iron work of your country is true, you will be just that, at least for the stores that sell to shinobi. Lastly is the current Anbu commander Nara Shikaku. He is a man of great intelligence and if you try to lie to him you're screwed, he will find out and there is no way you will survive making him your enemy. And I wouldn't want that. Zenitsu an eyebrow. And why is that? Anko blushes lightly. I meant what I said, if anyone gets you it would be me and I can't have you die first, can I? You saved Naruto from that mob and you gave him a family and real hope again. I want to thank you personally for that. Naruto doesn't know this, but he helped me by making me his Anko 1E. I was in a really bad place in my life and when he met me he called me out on it. He could see the loneliness I had been drowning in and gave me a place to belong. It helped me a lot and got me back to a place where I could function not only as a shinobi, but as a person, albeit a strange one, again and repair the relationship I once had with my best friend. Plus you have a nice ass. She gave his butt a squeeze and kissed him. Zenitsu blushed and so did she. They stood very still for several minutes, both not knowing what to do. Zenitsu was taken aback. He was not used to the frankness that Anko displayed. The women of his homeland were far more reversed. He had to admit to himself that she was a beautiful woman, but he wasn't sure what to do. The only relationship he had with the opposite sex had been a working one with the medics or with the women of his clan. Anko on the other hand was freaking out. This was not like her, she never was the one to be so emotional. By Kami she was blushing like a schoolgirl, this was not how she acted and despite how she tried she couldn't stop. She would normal just take what she wanted and be done with it. She never got into any relationship with a man, but something about him caused her to act strangely. Why isn't he responding? I just told him I want him, I even kissed him for Kami's sake, she thought. Wait a minute, this guy is from a powerful clan and a high-ranking military leader, he probably already has a girl. The thought deflates her pretty quickly and the blush fades away. I guess you already have a girl, don't you? And with all that samurai honor and loyalty thing, you must find me a little disgusting, don't you? He shook his head. No. I just wasn't expecting you to do that. The women I am used to are very reserved, little surprised is all. Oh, and I like your ass too, plus some other things. He reached down and kissed her on the lips and put his hand on her bottom and pulled her closer to him. Anko responded with a hunger and pushes her tongue into his mouth. He returns the treatment and soon the two of them are locked in a battle of tongues. They separate and breathe heavily. Zenichi kisses her lightly on the neck at the base of her ear, causing the woman to shiver. It feels like your tongue is a foot long. He says into her ear with a raspy voice which causes her to shiver again. She gives him a seductive grin and sticks her tongue out until it reaches just past her chin. He looks at her in stunned shock, she then feels his arousal against her thigh and giggles naughty. He takes her lips in his own again. Only to be disturbed by Naruto. Can the two of you please not make out in my kitchen? It's weird, having to listen to you panting and breathing heavy like that. The two quickly separate themselves from one another, with bright blushes on their faces. They look at each other with a hungry expression on their faces. Anko winks at him and speaks first. Well, it's getting late, I better go. Good night Naruto, thanks for letting me eat here tonight, it was great, especially dessert. Causing Zenichi's blush to darken and even Naruto to blush lightly. She kisses Zenichi on the lips and Naruto on the cheek as she leaves. Zenichi stares after her until Naruto speaks. Just go, I know you want to. You have the same look on your face a lot of the men who come to this part of the village do. I am sure she wants you too. Zenichi looks at his cousin. What? I'm 6 not stupid, I live in the red light district for Kami's sake, I know what sex is. Just go, we can talk later. Where does she live? Knowing her, she is taking her time so you can catch up. Okay thanks, I have to meet with the council tomorrow so we will talk tomorrow night at the shrine. We can start fixing up the temple and figure out where to start your training. Naruto nodded smiling as Zenichi was moving past him and out the door. Zenichi is hurrying and instead of taking the stairs, he jumps over the railing and falls to the street below. He lands in front of the stairs that lead up to Naruto's apartment just as Anko steps off. He steps to her and takes her in his arms again and kisses her. They separate, she asks, breathing hard. My place or yours? Mine is under construction. Mine, then let's go, this way. She takes his hand and they start running as fast as a horny kunoichi and samurai could. Zenichi wakes up and sees purple. A little confused he sits up and the hair covering him falls to the side and his vision clears. He looks around Anko's room. It was surprisingly feminine. The walls were painted a light blue with light purple snakes painted at random. The window curtains were a dark blue with red floral patterns. The dresser and bedside tables were a simple design with random odds and ends sitting atop them. Zenichi focuses at a T&I kit that was siding open on her dresser and sweat drops, curious if it had worked its way into their night together when he wasn't paying attention. He looks over to the woman whose bed he had shared. I could get used to this, he thought as he laid back down and put his arm around her middle. She shifts in her sleep, pushing herself into his chest with her back. I definitely could get used to this. They lay together for another hour until Anko wakes up in Zenichi's arms. I could get used to this, he is so warm it's like sleeping next to a heater, she thought to herself, almost purring as she rubs her back against him. She rolls over so they face each other, much to Zenichi's pleasure, feeling her breasts against his chest. He kisses her lightly on the forehead. Morning Hebahim, I hope you slept well. Anko blushes at the pet name Zenichi has given her. After they had satisfied their desires for each other, they had spent the rest of the night talking. Anko had told him about how the villagers would treat him if they found out about the two of them being together and wanted to keep it a secret if they pursued a relationship, which she was hesitate to do. Zenichi was shocked to learn that the villagers would treat not one but two of the people that he was growing to care about, and as she tried to convince him that a relationship with her was a bad idea, Zenichi had proven to be just as stubborn as she was. Telling her that the one opinion of their relationship he cared about was hers, and if the villagers didn't like him, the feeling was mutual because he didn't like the villagers that much for the way they treated Naruto anyway. She had laughed after hearing that and given to him, snuggling close and falling asleep in his arms. Morning lover boy, kissing him, you know you should get ready, you have a meeting with a bunch of old windbags in a few hours, and you have to get to the other side of the village to get your things. Unless you are going in those dirty clothes and stinking of hot sex at that, you could use a shower. Does the temple have one? It does not in fact have one. You wouldn't mind if I borrow yours, do you? I don't if you promise to wash my back and you still need clothes even if you wash yours they're not really fit for a meeting with the council if you want to be taken seriously. I have everything with me in storage seals in the scroll pouches on my belt and deal. Even do your hair which looks good down like that by the way. You are quite the charmer you know that. She says though giggles, this is so weird, no man has talked to me or made me feel this way before. I am a professional snake charmer in fact, if you didn't know the poisonous ones are my specialty and favorite. She looks over at him with a questioning look and sees him holding her T&I kit with vials of venom with small chibi snake stickers on them. She sees his sly smile as he holds up a half-empty vial with a bow on it with a blush across its face, causing her to have a mild panic attack. You used this on me didn't you? The look of shame and guilt crosses her face. She gulps fearing the worst, kicking herself for screwing up whatever this was before it even started, believing he would angrily break it off before it even started, but is honest and nods in the affirmative. What does this one do? He asks. That one induces rigidity in muscles that it is injected into, it harmless depending on what muscle groups it's injected in. For example in the area around the throat, it makes it hard to breathe and simulate suffocating, and let's say in the crouch area it induces a raging hard on. He finishes for her, causing her to blush and hang her head, so her hair hides her face. Yes. Does it work on women as well? Zenitsu walked through the village after leaving Anko's apartment dressed in a formal red and silver battle kimono, with his clan emblem proudly on his back. With his offhand lazily sticking out of the bottom of the V formed by the crossing cloth, he looked like a bored high-born lord, then a seasoned veteran, about to have a formal meeting with the village's council about a treaty that will change the power structure of the world. He was in a good mood after spending the night and morning with Anko. He was refreshed and ready to go. Surprisingly, she was a wealth of information on the council as she told him about each council member as he got dressed. She had watched him intently the entire time, and finally he asked her what she was looking at. She told him that if she had seen him dressed like that, like some kind of uptight noble instead of in his dirty travel armor and dusty long coat she had seen him in with Naruto, last night wouldn't have happened in a million years. Causing him to chuckle as he remembered the conversation they had afterwards. Her reaction when he told her that she would have to wear something similar if she was ever going to meet his parents was priceless. She blushed and started stuttering out reasons that would never happen, which he in turn shot down one after another. Smiling to himself, Shinichi arrives at the Hokage tower and walks inside and walks up to the front desk. Good morning, Uzumaki Shinichi, for a meeting with the Hokage and village council. Yes, the Hokage has been waiting for you. Please follow me, Uzumaki Dono. The secretary stands up and leads Shinichi through the tower. They ascend several floors then turn down a hall and stop outside a set of double door. Shinichi was not impressed with the level of security in the tower. He counted only a dozen or so Anbu on the way up and 4 in the room with him hidden. The secretary pokes her head into the council chamber and then turns to him. The council is assembled and ready for you. Thank you very much. He walks past her and enters the council chambers to see the council already seated and waiting. The table was a U-shape with the Hokage at the apex, the village elders to either side of him and the shinobi and civilian council members sitting opposite of each other. He made eye contact with the Hokage as he stood to greet Shinichi. Good morning, Uzumaki Dono, you're right on time. Please let me introduce the members of Konoha's council. To my left and right are the village elders and my old teammates Mitakato Himura and Utatane Kaheru. From the right of Himura, we have the shinobi half of our council. Starting with Akamichi Choza, Nara Shikaku, Yamanaka Inoichi, Hyuga Hiyashi, Inyazuka Tsume, and lastly Uchiha Fugaku, and to Kaheru's left, we have the civilian half of our council Ruchika Hadaka, the head of civilian affairs. If you have an event in mind you can talk to her. Katazurachi, our financial minister, he can help you get the Uzumaki accounts back in order. Kutichi Renzo, head of education, if you are curious about the schooling Naruto will receive. Ichira Takamo, our merchant guild representative, he can help you get the supplies for the Uzumaki temple. Haruno Mabeki, Shimura Danzo, and I believe have already met Ichiraku Tuchi are our 3 elected villager representatives. If you could be so kind to introduce yourself to the council I would be very appreciative. Of course, Hokage Dono, good morning, I am Uzumaki Shinichi, vice captain of the 2nd division of the Iron Guard of the Land of Iron. It is a great honor to meet you all this morning. Since all of you are already here, I assume the Hokage has told you my reasons for my being here and shown you all the copy of the treaty agreement I left with him the other night. After several nods around the room, Shinichi knew he was correct. Then why not get straight to the details, shall we? Are there any questions I can answer for you that will placate any doubts you might be feeling for this alliance? The Hokage nods, approving of how he dealt with the council, keeping things focused on the treaty, knowing full well that the petty council members would want to waste time on silly formalities. After a minute, the first to speak stood up. Good morning Uzumaki Dono, allow me to introduce myself. I am Uchiha Fugaku clan, head of the Uchiha clan and the chief of the Konoha military police, and I would like to ask you about what happened 2 nights ago outside Councilman Ichiraku's raiment stand, and also why you believe that we should ally ourselves with a group of hot-tempered samurai who would cut the arms off helpless civilians. Frankly, I should put you in chains for that act alone until the investigation is over. The Hokage frowns. This was not going well. Fugaku-sen, I don't think this is the proper place for this conversation. I beg to differ. From what I have gathered, this will represent a microcosm of what will happen in the village with samurai as an everyday occurrence, and if having them as allies will be good for the village's security. No, it's alright, I have to agree with Uchiha-san. As I myself am in his position in the Land of Iron, I fully understand and I would be asking the same questions. Though to call it a microcosm might be a little much. I don't think one samurai will be facing over 200 villagers on his own like I did. I am sure you have seen testimony from the Anbu that responded as well as personal testimony from Councilman Ichiraku. I was dining at his restaurant with a young Uzumaki Naruto. He turns to face the Uchiha clan head, who, after a blood test using seals that all Uzumaki from the Land of Iron carry on us, so that if we come across anyone we believe to be a member of the clan we can make sure and to what family they belong to. And he has proven to be a true member of our clan, as well as the son of Uzumaki Kushina, my aunt, meaning my little cousin. He snaps with anger, causing the clan heads to flinch. All the members of the council take a sharp intake of breath after they heard confirmation that Naruto was a true Uzumaki and Kushina's son. Both the Uchiha and Hyuga clan heads steal a look at each other. Their wives had sent them with orders to confirm the rumors that Naruto was indeed Kushina's son, and both know that this wasn't going to end well for the Hokage. Fugaku frowns at the accusing tone in Zenitsu's voice, not liking what this would mean if the samurai had taken this oversight on his part personally and would retaliate in his cousin's name. My mother told me why my aunt was here in Konoha, and yes, the two have seen each other, but that was many years ago, and neither have had much contact. We didn't even know she had been pregnant. I know that my aunt was taken under the terms of the treaty with Yuzashio to be the second Jinchuriki of the Kyuubi no Kitsune, something my mother would very much like to kill you all for. She is not happy with me for suggesting this treaty. It's not a secret how people treat Jinchuriki, and she wants nothing to do with the Konoha. She blames you all for the death of her little sister, and she outright hates the village for the treatment she received growing up, treatment that I have seen to have been passed on to her son. If my mother had known that Kushina was pregnant, I am sure you would have learned about this much sooner. Zenitsu leaves out that his mother most likely would have forced Kushina back to the Land of Iron for Naruto's birth to ensure nothing happened with the seal, which leads him to his next thought. You did, however, let my cousin suffer for 6 years of mistreatment for the only reason I can fathom being the cause of why the seal on his mother failed, releasing the Bijuu, something completely beyond his control. The acidic tone causes the Hokage to wince, remembering the talk they had only a night before. Danzo sees this and looks again at the young samurai and wonders if he can use the obvious anger at his cousin's treatment to his advantage. Which leads us back to the event in question, doesn't it? Because a mob of over 200 villagers and shinobi attacked us due to that maltreatment, believing that they could kill my cousin without consequence, so I showed them no mercy. My clan is the most precious thing to me, and when anyone threats one of them they earn my full wrath. Under normal circumstances I would have killed the whole lot of them then and there, but I did not want to act so violently due to my responsibilities to fulfill my mission. In my defense, I had just been listening to Naruto tell me about what happened on his last birthday. To say I was angry would be a grave understatement, and I may have overreacted. If I had not let myself become as emotional I would not have acted out as I did. I am sure you Uchiha can understand that. Is that a reasonable explanation for you, Uchiha-san? The clan head nods his head quietly, fully understanding what Zenitsu meant about his clan. What the Uzumaki would have done for his clan if not for his mission and loyalty to the Land of Iron. Humbled him greatly, many of the other clan heads nodding their agreement as well, successfully earning their respect. The Hokage was impressed to see someone so young so easy answer Fugaku's verbal attack, and he not only proved himself but won over all the clan heads. In the process was franking impressive. Are there any questions about the treaty that Uzumaki Dono can answer? I don't want to hear anything else. This is not our only item to discuss today. Spoke the Hokage, wishing to move this meeting along. I have one, Hokage-sama. Good day Uzumaki Dono, Ruchika Hadaka. I would like to ask you, where do you plan to house the samurai that will be garrisoned here, and how will you provide for them while they are here? The Hokage spoke of a plan to house them in the ruins of the Uzumaki temple, but even if it is repaired to its former glory, it is still too small for a sizable force, and the cost of living for those that will be housed there will not be cheap if the shinobi of the village are anything to judge by. That is a good question, Councilwoman Ruchika. As you said, the temple is a ruin, and I plan to rebuild it during the winter with the help of my cousin, increasing it in size and make it more suitable for living. The samurai that will be stationed here in the village will not be arriving until next spring at the earliest, which will give us plenty of time to rebuild and renovate the temple to be a proper compound for the housing of samurai. As for the cost of feeding and living for the samurai that will be here, we can work out a means for the Land of Iron to reimburse the village if it proves to be necessary. We will have to come up with some kind of transfer of funds for your shinobi, for they face the same situation when stationed in the Land of Iron as part of this exchange. As for the shinobis housing the 2nd Division will be providing it. I am sorry if that is not a good answer. We have specialists to handle those very issues, and I am not one of them. Otherwise we will have a bunch of hunger samurai and shinobi on our hands, and if your shinobi are anything like my samurai, then a hungry shinobi is the last thing we want now, is there? The last comment gets several chuckles and nods of agreement from the clan heads and Tucci, who has personal experience of the appetites of the village shinobi. After getting his laughter under control, stands up and addressed the council. I think I have a simple solution to this problem. Since there will be both samurai and shinobi participating in this exchange, why not let the already in place means of providing meals and other services to those on duty and service to our respective villages, take care of them, and not try to steal a profit from our guests and new friends. Both groups will be working to the same end, protecting our allies. What do you say, Uchiha-san? In fact, for the first month of the samurai stay in the village, I will comp a meal for each samurai that will be staying in the village to help protect us helpless civilians as a showing of welcome. The tension in the room after Tucci's sly comment about the councilwoman's intentions and quoting the Uchiha's words showing what he thought of the clan head rises noticeably. Zenichi knows thanks to Anko that the relationship between Tucci and his partner on the council Haruno Mibeki, the matriarch of a minor craftsman clan, and the rest of the civilian side of the council, was not very good. As both council members were retired shinobi themselves, they often sided with the clan heads and the Hokage against the more self-serving peers, though the shoot on the clan head was a surprise to many. Ruchika and the Uchiha narrow their eyes at him as he sits back down. With outstanding, Mibeki supports her colleague. I think that is a good idea. In fact, any samurai who needs work done on their armor or need anything crafted will receive them for the first month free of change, paying only for materials by any craftsman under the banner of the Haruno clan to show support to our new allies. My only concerns are how are the samurai to be paid. The shinobi perform missions on the benefit of the village and receive part of the payment as spending money. This exchange will be considered a long-term mission and they will receive pay for it before departing, and upon their return, what will more than compensate for their time from home. Please, Uzumaki Dono, can you enlighten us on how the samurai are financially compensated for their services? Yes, of course. The samurai are paid a salary that comes out of the taxes paid to the shogun. The pay is rank-based, and the higher one is in rank the more one is paid. I personally receive as a vice captain a little less than 500,000 ryo a month, plus 70% on any bounties we happen to collect in the line of duty or on our free time. Many lower-rank samurai have earned small fortunes from bounties they have collected on their off time. Their village has not been on the paying end of those transactions, but Iwakumo and many minor villages have. I myself did a bit of bounty work in my time before becoming an officer, and then most of my free time went to the evil of paperwork. The look on his face causes anyone in the room with experience as a military officer to burst out laughing, causing the 4 other council members to look around at them with looks of confusion. After several minutes or so, all the shinobi and former shinobi calm their laughter. Mibeki speaks up again. So if the samurai are paid a salary, how do you intend to pay them if they are stationed here? I have not been to the Land of Iron personally, but I have been near your borders in my youth, and even during the summer months there is a frost. How will you get their payment here during the winter months when all the mountain passes are blocked with heavy snow? Part of the renovations I will be making will be a large vault protected by Uzumaki seals and more traditional methods that will store their bi-weekly pay, just like in any of our border stations. Which will be delivered just before winter by the 3rd Division. They are transport and logistics specialists I spoke of, who receive special training for guard duty of high-risk convoys. Trying to take one of their transports will prove to be suicide. Though I am sure there will be some who will like to do little jobs on the side to occupy their time. A current copy of your village's bingo book will most likely end up in their hands at some point, I would suspect. I don't expect you to pay them at the same rates as the shogun does though. If Yun-sama is a very generous leader, and it's more of a way for the junior ranks to earn a name for themselves and impress their superiors, so they will not really care about it as long as they get the credit and some money to spend on their vices. Does that satisfy your question, Councilwoman Haruno? Yes, it does, Uzumaki Dono, thank you very much. Anything else any of you wish to know? That is when Hyuga Hiyashi stood up. Yes, I have some questions about the military strength of you yourself and your fellow samurai. I am sure that many here have met or faced samurai before in combat, and I personally can say that I was not impressed. The ones I have faced were no challenge for any shinobi except the greenest of genin. As this is primarily an agreement for military support for your country, I would like to see what we have to gain from it at all. At first Zenichi is a little offended, but after seeing the horror on the Hokage's face from what the arrogant Hyuga said, the look said it all. Are you mad? He starts laughing hysterically, much to the stunned faces of the council. I must apologize, I didn't mean to laugh, but the look on the Hokage's face was too much. A demonstration of my caste's power is in order. I must say that I am a little offended that you Hyuga-san, as a veteran, would outright call my people weak. A little bit of advice for you to pass on to your colleagues and clan members, he says as he closes his eyes to focus. The looks of horror spread from the Hokage to the other clan heads except Hiashi at hearing Zenichi's tone. Don't ever insult a samurai's power to their face, it will only lead to a fight. We have a saying in the Iron Guard, live with honor, die with pride, and you just insulted the honor of all samurai in the guard. Just then Zenichi flexes his chakra, quickly building it up and concentrating it. The effect on his surroundings was noticeable instantly. First every Anbu in the build arrives circling him, 30 in total, but as the pressure from his flex of power grows one by one, they all step back instinct, forcing them to get away from the heat of the air around him before they got burned. Next, the floor beneath him starts to crack and split under the strain, spreading out as he continues to gather his strength. The room starts to smell of ozone, causing some to wonder what his element was. Then like a spark igniting a flash fire, he snaps his eyes open, and his chakra becomes visible, a fireball of dark blue energy encircling his whole body. Small lightning bolts arc at random from his body as his elemental affinity starts to show itself, his eyes releasing a thick mist of potent chakra, which continues to rise as he stares at the Hyuga, who sweats under the stare. He then speaks as the walls crack and push outward from the pressure as it continues to grow. Are you satisfied with my strength, Hyuga-san? The Hyuga clan head nods without saying a word. Although I am the strongest of the vice captains, all the division captains as well as Mifune-sama are stronger than me. Do not compare that trash you have faced before to us, you arrogant ninja. The edge on his voice causes the table, some of the Anbu and the 4 consilmers with zero shinobi experience to collapse. The elders as well as the remaining members of the civilian half of the council were sweating profusely from the strain from trying to remain conscious, with the clan heads all with their faces tied under the pressure. The only one not showing any sign of strain is the Hokage, who simply shakes his head. He had known that this would happen at some point and had tried to rush the meeting in an attempt to avoid it. Curse you, Hiashi, why did you have to challenge the young samurai's pride like that? Zenichi, could you please relax your chakra before you bring the building down? I believe you have made your point very clear. Zenichi closes his eyes again as his chakra begins to calm and dissipate, releasing the pressure that had filled the room. To think that someone as young as you would be of a Sanin's level is quite frightening. You are sure to grow into a legend. I think every ninja in the village felt that. He says absent-mindedly. He looks over at the Hyuga and Uchiha clan heads and smirks. Both of their faces were twisted in instinctive fear. The Hokage accurately guessed that the samurai had directed a sizable amount of killing intent their way. The first for his arrogant challenge of the samurai's pride and the other for his earlier questioning of Zenichi's honor, proving that the samurai live up to their code. I think that will be all for today. If any of you have any more questions for Uzumaki Dono, then I suggest you pursue the answers at a later time. Uzumaki Dono, you may leave. Zenichi bows, turns and leaves the severely damaged council room. He meets the secretary outside and sees her, unfazed and an eyebrow. When you have served as the personal assistant to the teacher and then student of Jiraiya, that short-tempered frog Sanin is always in the office, you get used to little outbursts like yours, young man. Hyuga-san was a fool to challenge you like that. Anyone with half a brain can see you are a powerful fellow. I say you gave them a good scare. Zenichi smiles and blushes at the teasing from the older woman. As he steps outside he sees Anko standing there panting and sweating with her hands on her knees. Zenichi, an eyebrow. What are you doing here? She rights herself and looks at him. I thought the Hokage was going to kill you or something after I felt that chakra spike. There are over 3 dozen Jonin and every Anbu in the village on the roof of the tower right now. He chuckles hearing that the shinobi of the village thought that the chakra spike was the Hokage's and not his own. They were seriously underestimating the power of the samurai of his homeland. Would make for some good bar fights. He knew would be unavoidable, at some point it was going to happen. Then or why you are down here? She sticks the tip of her tongue out at him. Snake-like senses, remember. I could smell you and know you were walking this way. He walks up to her and takes her arm in his own. She leans into him tired. She had sprinted across the village from the Anbu T&I headquarters, worried for her new whatever he was. It was still too early for her to call him her lover or any other titles like that. They start walking and as Zenichi reaches for his sword he finds it moved to the perfect place again. You are the best escort any samurai could ask for, you know that. She smiles. Not any samurai, just one. Now it's his turn to smile. You want to get lunch? She nods her head. Then lead the way Hebahim, I have only been to 2 restaurants here and I don't think we will be able to eat at either. She shakes her head laughing, knowing full well what he was talking about and leads him to her favorite dango shop in the village. After he and Anko got lunch she had to go back to work and they promised to meet up for a dinner date. After she asked about the condition the temple was in, she insisted that he stay with her until the renovations were done. He said that it was okay, he was used to sleeping outside, and he pointed out that her apartment was too small for 2 people, but like he had that morning, she shot down his every argument. When they parted she kissed him and walked away, purposely swinging her hip side to side, which Shinichi watched contently until he notices a dog-masked Anbu watching. What? Dust was curious to see who had Anko in such a good mood this morning. A word to the wise, the head of the T&I department Marino Ibiki thinks of her as a little sister and if you hurt her, he will most surely will hurt you. Shinichi looks up at him. And why would I do that? She is far too fun to be with and sexy to boot. If I ever hurt Anko it will be in bed and you know what, I am not talking with you about this. Shinichi starts walking away as Kakashi smirked behind his mask. At the temple Shinichi finds Naruto in the shrine sitting in the same position he had seen him in yesterday. Shinichi walks over to one of the enclaves in the side of the shrine and changes out of his formal clothes. After sealing them away and putting on comfortable training attire he walks over to Naruto. So you really must like it here. Have you been here all day? Yes, though it was the easiest way to get away from the girls, they wanted to know what happened at Ichiraku's and wouldn't leave me alone. After some of them started whispering about finding you and showing you a good time on the house, I might have let it slip that you and Anko-ni were together. He winced a little. He wasn't sure how Shinichi would act to hearing about his personal business being talked about by another. So that is how dog know it was me who had Anko all sunshine and rainbows this morning. He looked over at Naruto who had a look of horror on his face. What? Anko-ni is never sunshine and rainbows, ever. What did you do? The accusing look startled Shinichi. Nothing, we just spent the night and the morning together. Nothing special, honest, we are going out on a date tonight. She asked me to stay with her until we get the temple fixed up. The look on Naruto's face shifts from suspicion to worry. Anko-ni never lets men stay at her apartment ever. She always goes with them back to their place. I haven't even been there, but she took you. Naruto sounded a little jealous as he revealed that Shinichi was the only man to ever share Anko's bed. Shinichi stares at his cousin, feels a moment of male pride after hearing that he is the only man to be brought into Anko's personal space, but then the moment passes and he hears the rest of Naruto says and smiles at the young boy. Don't worry Naruto, I am not going to take your Anko-ni from you, but how do you know about where Anko spent her time with other men? She told me. Shinichi didn't like what he was hearing, a little upset that his 6-year-old cousin knew what sex was and knew a full-grown woman was sharing her sexual exploits with him, wasn't pleasing at all. Naruto, who told you what sex was and how the girls in your neighborhood make a living? Anko-ni did, I asked her after a while. I was kind of embarrassing to ask a girl somehow. I tried to ask Dog Nai and Weasel Nai, but they wouldn't tell me, saying I was too young. Shinichi just shook his head, having already experienced Anko's bluntness. He knew that if Naruto asked she would have told him whether it was appropriate or not. It was too late for that, but something else bothered him. Naruto, how do you know that Anko doesn't take other men to her apartment? Well, I asked her if I could see it, but she wouldn't let me. I tried to follow her home, but she would always notice me, so I tried when she would go pick up guys and was distracted, but she would always go to either their place or one of the brothels. The madams respect Anko-ni a lot and let her use a room when she wants for free. I don't know why she never takes them, but she never does. The number of guys she would go looking for has dropped a lot since we meet. I don't know, she just spends more time with me and a Kunoichi I don't know more now than looking for guys. Shinichi looked at his cousin once again, surprised by the young boy. You know, if I didn't know any better I would say you are far older than you appear Naruto, you surprise me a lot. Anko-ni said the same thing. Are kids my age not like this? I was thinking that maybe it was an Uzumaki thing. Shinichi thought for a minute, thinking about when he was younger and about the Uzumaki children he had helped his mother teach. Many of them would pick up the lessons faster than the non-Uzumaki would, and after thinking about the experiences Naruto had lived, though he realized that was it. Naruto had just experienced a life of pain and harshness that most didn't experience until much later in life. Leading Naruto to develop a worldview that was far more advanced than those his age would normally have. You know what Naruto, you're right, it is. I will be frank with you, you have experienced some difficult things in your life and being an Uzumaki you learn from those experiences. Most kids your age don't share your wisdom as they have not experienced the things you have. The harsh treatment from the villagers and living in the red light district with prostitutes being your one sans, and let's not forget Anko. She is something else, am I right? Naruto laughed, nodding his head in agreement. So I would say you are at least in life experiences far ahead of those your age, not to mention your skills with a bow and a skinning knife. Although you have a lot to learn still, so don't get a big head, okay? Naruto nods his head again with a smile, happy to have someone other than Anko to teach him about stuff. He liked her lessons, but well, it was Anko, and the things she taught him didn't help get on the villagers' good side. If anything, it was the opposite. Okay, so we are going into the village to find out about getting supplies for the temple, and we will see if we can find an architect to help with building the barracks for the samurai that will be here. After we get back from that, I will start teaching you to control your chakra so we can get you using a jutsu that will help me fix up the temple. It was developed by the Nidaime with the help of his sister-in-law Uzumaki Mido. It's called the Kage Bunshin. It will let us build the barracks and get the rest of the temple back to its former glory much faster. It is a jutsu that will create physical copies of us and will let us have a large workforce without the cost, plus it will let you work on your chakra control and build up your chakra. This jutsu was labeled as a kinjutsu because of the chakra cost, but as in Uzumaki, even one as young as you, it will be fine. You should make 2 or 3 with little problem. I have a date tonight to get ready for and some chakra lessons for you, so let's get going. He stood up, as well as Naruto, and they head out of the shrine. They make their way out into the village and look for an architect that they could get to work for them. They try a few construction companies until they walk into one, meet a middle-aged man that told them that although he couldn't help them, not having any idea what they would need, he recommends an architect that designed the Anbu headquarters who worked a few streets away. Zenitsu thanks the man who had treated him with far more respect than any of the other contractors he had talked to that afternoon. Most had treated him fine, but the second they saw Naruto they would begin being hostile, which would lead Zenitsu to simply walking out. They walk over to the shop where the architect that was recommended worked and entered the shop. It was filled with drawing supplies, modeling equipment, and an assortment of tools. The path to the front counter was formed through the clutter. Zenitsu and Naruto walked up to the counter and rang the bell. They watched as a layer of dust was knocked off the bell when Naruto hit it. They heard a crashing noise from the back of the shop and a yelp. "Hold on 1 minute, be right there." Came a call from the direction of the crashing noise, then a short older man with a short goatee and shaved head stepped out from between the shelves behind the counter. He walked up to them and stepped up onto a stool hidden from sight. "Hello and welcome to Destiny Design. You dream it, I design it. I am the architect Okinoda at your service. How can I help you?" The upbeat tone in Oda's voice was a much needed boost for the two Uzumaki. "Good afternoon, Doken-san. I am Uzumaki Zenitsu and this is my cousin. We were hoping that you would be able to help us redesign the Uzumaki temple in the village to house the samurai that will be staying in the village starting in the spring." Oda looked at the tall samurai and squints. He reaches into a drawer and takes out a pair of eyeglasses and looks at Zenitsu then Naruto. "So you're the samurai that has the village in an uproar now. I would love to help you revitalize one of my favorite projects." Zenitsu looks at the man. "You designed the temple?" The older man nods. "Yes, I did. It was a commission from Lady Mido herself. Although I was a much younger man then, it was my first real project and I have been very sad to see it deteriorate over the years. A young Kunoichi, a relative of yours I would guess, Uzumaki Kushina had talked to me about restoring it, but she passed on before we could make her dream a reality." Naruto tries to get up on the counter to see the man. Zenitsu sees him struggle and picks up the boy and puts him on the counter. "You know my mother? And who might this be?" "Well, if it isn't the young Naruto, the little scoundrel of the village now, and you are the son of Kushina. Well, I say that makes sense seeing you look just like her. Have you pranked anyone recently? I just love your work. You're just like your mother, pranking everyone that made fun of her or her friend." Zenitsu and Naruto look at the old man, stunned silent by his quick outburst. "You like my pranks?" asked a flustered Naruto. Oda nods his head quickly. "They are just great. Bring some life back to this village. It used to be a very different place before the Third War. I don't know, since then it's been much colder in the village. Your mother and her friends would raise all kinds of hell, the 3 Hikiko they were called. A regular trio of fiends they were. The only ones that could stop them once they started were the Yondaime and his 2 teammates, I can't remember their names. I heard that at some point Kushina-chan and Minato-chan teammates ended up getting together. It's a shame the 2 of them never did, they made such a cute pair." Zenitsu and Naruto were once again stunned by the old man. Both of their mouths hung open after hearing the old man call the Yondaime, Minato-chan. Zenitsu was first to compose himself. Doken-san, not to sound rude, but how old are you?" 78. "Why? Oh, was I showing my age again? I have such a bad habit of doing that." "Okay, Doken-san, would you be willing to work with us?" "Of course my boy, I would love to. How about we discuss what your plans are for the temple and I can draw up a few sketches and we look at them over some tea tomorrow." "That sounds great." Oda takes out a notepad and starts taking notes as Zenitsu describes his vision of what the new samurai compound, as Oda would call it, whenever he asked for more detail on something, could be. For an hour the two men talked and once or twice Naruto would add a little. Which surprised both men at how good the ideas of the 6-year-old were, and both would immediately praise the boy for his genius and incorporate his ideas. When they were done, Oda had filled his notebook and asked Zenitsu where he would like to meet and at what time. "Any time that is good for you, Doken-san. Please call me Oda, and how about a little afternoon? Can take you to the tea shop my granddaughter works at." Naruto looks up at hearing that, and although he was more advanced in some areas than the children his age, he was still 6, thinking that Oda was trying to set Zenitsu with his granddaughter. "Zenitsu Nai has a girlfriend already, Oda Jiji." Zenitsu blushes and shoots the boy a glare, but Oda just laughs. "Does he now, and who would that be then?" "Anko ni," Naruto says proudly. At hearing Anko's name, Oda looks a little sad and looks at Zenitsu questionably. "Well, I wouldn't say girlfriend yet, but maybe after tonight, she is someone that I am hoping to pursue a relationship with. Though it seems that there is still much I have to learn about her, she has been a good friend to Naruto. Plus I have always been a good judge of character, and she is a good person despite what people say about her." Oda gives Zenitsu a knowing look which the young man instantly recognizes, but chooses to ignore. "It's good to see such a good young man like yourself see past that mask of hers. She has had a hard life and deserves us a little happiness. I wish you luck, with women like her you have to be patient. My late wife was a kunoichi, the wars had left her scarred and it was a hard time, some of the things she had done ate at her soul. It took a long time for the emotional scars to heal. I like to think I helped. Just be patient, and if it is meant to be it will be." "Thank you, Doken-san." "What did I say, it just Oda?" Zenitsu chuckles. Okay, thank you, Oda. Have a good night, I will see you tomorrow." The two men stand up and shake hands. Zenitsu and Naruto leave and head back Naruto's apartment. After word got out that Anko had claimed Zenitsu as her own, the girls left TB this time. Some greeted him and Naruto warmly, Naruto knowing who they were would return the greeting, then ask them how their day had been and if they needed anything. Most would just smile at the little boy trying to take care of his surrogate big sisters and would thank him and told him if they needed anything they would let him know. When they got to the apartment, Zenitsu instructed Naruto in same basic chakra control exercises that he wanted Naruto to practice, and as Naruto set out to stick a leaf from one of his potted plants to his forehead, Zenitsu got cleaned up for his date with Anko. They agreed to meet up at her apartment after Zenitsu had finished his errands with Naruto and would make do with what they could find. Anko told him of a few shinobi-only bars that serviced good food and were open all night. He had said he wanted to take her someplace nice, but she showed signs that she wasn't comfortable with being in some of the more upscale places the village boasted, and he relented. He at least got her to agree to dress in something other than her trench coat and wire mesh. She had teased him asking if he didn't like it anymore, but he played it smoothly, saying she would be sexy in any outfit she wore and that he wanted to see her in something that he could show her off in. She blushed at the way he spoke, almost to say she was his. She had liked it more than she was comfortable to admit. Zenitsu walked out of the bathroom dressed in a simple pair of pants and tight sleeveless shirt with his wolf shoulder guard on. The bandages that had been wrapped on his arms were gone, showing his tattoo covering his right forearm. He sees Naruto with his eyes shut in concentration. He already had a leaf stuck to his forehand, but it was quivering slightly, telling Zenitsu that Naruto was using too much chakra. Well, that was quick, he thought. "Naruto, you are using too much chakra, rein it in a little." Zenitsu watched as his cousin followed his advice and pulled back on his chakra as he slides his sword into the red sash he wore around his middle, but he pulls back too much and Zenitsu watches as the leaf fell to the floor. He hears Naruto swear softly. "Don't worry, you will get it." Naruto opens his eyes and looks at his cousin. "You heading out to meet Anko ni? What is that tattoo?" "Yup, and I will tell you some other time. Meet you here in the morning, and once you can perform the leave exercise to a level I am happy with, we will go over the next exercise and you can start. You will probably finish it tonight or in the morning, depending on how long you stay up." Naruto nods and walks into the kitchen to make himself dinner. "Have fun, Zenitsu Nai," he called. Zenitsu shook his head. "My cousin is so odd, one minute he is a little boy, the next he is an independent adult trapped in a child's boy. You are a mystery, Naruto," he thought as he walks out. "Get some sleep, Naruto, tomorrow is going to be grueling. We are going to start clearing the gardens to try and get them back under control. I am more worried about you, Zenitsu Nai, see you tomorrow." "See you tomorrow, Naruto." Zenitsu arrives outside Anko's apartment building and walks up the stairs to her apartment. Right before he can knock on the door, it swings open, revealing Anko in a tight pair of pants with a loose black blouse, with a collar cut in a V down to her belly button made of thin material that, despite its loose fit, showed off her breasts and curves seductively, hinting at what lay beneath it. With her hair down and pinned to the side, showing off more of her face and letting Zenitsu see her earrings, a simple pair that looked like snake coiled around a kunai in her ears. She had a little eyeshadow making her eyes intense to look at and purple lipstick that made her lips shine. To put it bluntly, Zenitsu was awestruck by the goddess that stood before him and was completely speechless, his mouth slightly open and watering hungry for the beauty standing before him. Anko gave him a nervous chuckle after seeing his reaction. "How do I look?" The question was innocent enough, but the nervous way she asked was lost on him, still in awe that he was about to go on a date with her. She crossed her arm in front of her stomach and held onto the elbow of her other arm. Not knowing how to act, she had asked Nai-chan to help her look more feminine for her date that night and wasn't sure what his reaction would be. Zenitsu, are you okay?" He finally snaps out of his trance and he gives her a light affectionate kiss. Noticing that she was wearing heels, adding a little height, making kissing that much easier for him. "You are easily the most beautiful woman I have ever seen." "Okay, change of plans, we are going somewhere nice. A simple bar is no place for a goddess like you." Anko freaks out. "No Zenitsu, please, it's okay, I don't mind simple, it's fine." She pleads. He looks at her and sees the look on her face and remembers what Oda had said that afternoon. "Okay, if that is what you want. But you have to wear this again when my teammates get here in the spring. They think I am incapable of getting a smoking hot eye to go out with me and I want to hug you in their faces cause you are the hottest woman I have ever met or seen in my life." Anko blushes. "Okay, I promise to help you get back at your team." She takes his arm when he offers it and they head out to the bar area. Zenitsu doesn't even try to readjust his sword, knowing that Anko already had it in the perfect place for him to draw it and still be as close to him as possible. Unbeknown to him, another woman was hiding in the shadow of Anko's apartment listening to their whole conversation and had seen his reaction to her appearance. The woman stepped out of the apartment and watched as the two left, smiling to herself. Kurenai Yuhi watched her best friend go. She thought about how Anko had showed up at her apartment that afternoon, frantic, not knowing what she was going to do for her date. It had taken Kurenai 20 minutes to calm the snake mistress down to figure out what was going on, and after Anko explained that she had a date with the samurai here to negotiate the treaty, she promised to help get her ready. They had gone back to Anko's apartment only to find simple training clothes, 3 sets of Anko's infamous mesh bodysuit and several different colored miniskirts, and insisted they go shopping. Anko had been completely lost when picking out clothes, but as it stood, Kurenai had to talk Anko into trying on everything she showed her, using Zenitsu as a taunt to get her over her embarrassment at wearing girly clothes, as Anko had put it. Kurenai just shook her head, thinking about how the Uzumakis in Anko's life had changed her so much. First, the little outcast who reminded her so much of herself as a child, calling her out on her loneliness and pain that had caused her to start down a self-destructive path that temporarily ended their friendship, but after a few months with the boy, leading to Anko apologizing to Kurenai and asking if she wanted to mend their friendship. Then this man now who had unknowing sparked a desire in Anko that she disclosed to Kurenai scared her a little, forcing her way outside her comfort zone. She had pointed at her bed and almost screamed, "He slept here with me last night. I let some guy I just met sleep in my bed with me, slept, not just sex, but cuddle, pillow talk, everything. I never do that, it's always just sex, then I leave, end of story, and I have never let a guy in my bed, not to mention my apartment, not even Naruto has been here, who is a little boy and who is the longest relationship I've had with any male since him." She spat. Kurenai just chuckled and told her the last thing she wanted to hear, "You're in love with him." But she stops with her mouth open about to reply and rushes to the door to meet the man that was the cause behind the final return, Anko's old personally. She was happy for her best friend. "I will have to thank them both, if it wasn't for these Uzumaki I would have never gotten my friend back, and this afternoon was so much fun, she is totally in love with him, even if she doesn't know it, all she did was talk about him." Kurenai blushed thinking about the conversation they had when looking for clothes, being Anko it had been pretty graphic. Anko takes Zenitsu to the bar area in the village. Many of the shinobi and villagers stop and gape at the kunoichi and samurai as they walk by. They walk by them, not noticing, too absorbed in their own world to even care. "So where is this bar you are taking me to?" "It's just a little bit more, be patient." "Oh, and you should know this is a shinobi-only bar, since you are a samurai you might have some problems, but you are with me so the chances are small, and I know you might think this is just a bar, but it is a bit more than that, because it is the only place where shinobi can just relax and have fun. So music, dancing, I haven't been here in a long time, I am looking forward to it." "Okay, any rules I should know about then?" She nods. "Yes, first there will be kids drinking in there, it's okay as they are ninja, and you know, old enough to kill, old enough to drink. Second, if a fight happens, don't try to break it up, there are no bouncers, and you are expected to finish your fight, it's an honor and reputation thing." Zenitsu nods, understanding. "Also, if you do get into a fight, no weapons or ninjutsu though for you, I don't think the no ninjutsu rule will be a problem, but you cannot draw your sword, okay?" Zenitsu sighs, but nods. Which makes Anko smile. "For the record, I do know some ninjutsu." Zenitsu said, which throw Anko for a loop, forgetting she was explaining the rules of the bar to him. "Really, like what?" I can use the Kage Bunshin, and I have a summoning contract with the wolves of the Sanra Mountains, and a couple Raiten jutsu that I use for long range, plus a few things that made my clan famous. Anko gasped after hearing that a samurai could do all that. What I said, the second division are ninjas, plus my mother was trained as a kunoichi. Anko thought for a moment. I want to see your summons, show it to me. What, right now? She nods. No, even the smallest of the wolves are the size of a grown man, and my summons is considered huge by their standards. But I want to see him. She whines like a little kid and pouts. Zenitsu laughs at her antics and relents. Fine, but just to let you know, he is a Shioke. She squeals in victory. Zenitsu shakes his head as he bites his thumb, then slams it into the ground. A howl sounds out of the smoke that formed from his jutsu, causing all the villagers to flinch and run away. A black wolf with blue eyes and crimson spirals on its shoulders, twice the size of a wagon, stands before them. It looks down at them. First at Zenitsu, then Anko. It takes a whiff of Anko, then snorts on her. Zenitsu-kun, why have you summoned me? There are no enemies here to fight. Anko is surprised by the sound of the summon's voice. It was surprisingly gentle and soft. I am sorry to have disturbed you, Akamika-chan. I was telling Anko about you and the other wolves, and she wanted to meet you. Is that so, and who is she? Zenitsu-kun. She smells like snakes. I am not a fan of snakes. Anko hears the ways Akamika says snakes and wishes she hadn't forced Zenitsu to summon her, but after she hears what Zenitsu says next, she wants to jump for joy. This is Anko, my girlfriend, and I know how you feel about snakes, but she isn't like that, and you will be nice, okay? The large wolf just scoffed and smelled Anko again. At least she is a strong snake. She will make a good mate for you, Zenitsu-kun. It is nice to meet you, Anko-chan. I hope we will get along even if you smell like snakes, and I will not tell you mother you are in a relationship with a kunoichi from Konoha. Zenitsu-kun. Zenitsu shudders and Anko looks at her new boyfriend questionably. Thank you, Akamika-chan, tell Akaminator that I said hi. I will let mother know you wish her well, and Anko-chan, if you hurt my Zenitsu-kun I will rip you to pieces. Have a nice evening. Akamika disappears in a cloud of smoke then. Anko was confused but happy at the same time. Confused because she had no idea what the wolf was talking about, not liking snakes, and why would Zenitsu be worried about his mother, knowing if he was in a relationship with a Konoha kunoichi. Did you mean it, what you said to Akamika? What, that you're my girlfriend? Yes, of course. I mean, if you want to be, I might be going a little far. He doesn't get to finish as Anko places a huge kiss on his lips. Yes, I want to be your girlfriend. Anko blushes when she realizes she had just screamed that out loud. Both smile, Anko resting her head on his arm as they start walking again. Anko finishes explaining the rules of the bar, and Zenitsu promises not to cause a scene unless provoked. Then they get there. Anko points out the entrance to the on the outside of the third floor. That's why it's a shinobi-only bar. The only way up is to walk up the wall. I think I might have made a mistake in picking this top. If I walk up the wall, my breasts will be completely visible. And how is that a problem? You wear a mesh bodysuit. Well, yeah, but you can't see though, it with all the layers of fine metal mesh, and well, I don't want anyone other than me to see, right? She blushes. I belong to only you now. She whispers. Zenitsu kisses her, then surprising her by picking her up bridal style. What are you doing? If you can't walk, then I will just carry you, hold on. Following his command, she puts her arms around his neck as he bends his knees. No way, you can't jump that high, you're crazy. She says as he jumps up. The force of his acceleration pushes her face against his chest. Next thing she sees is the door to the bar in front of her. Zenitsu puts her down to stand on her own. I can't believe you just jumped up here. She starts giggling. That was fun. Zenitsu just smiles and opens the door to the bar, and they walk in. The two of them get everyone in the room's attention when they walk in. Everyone wanting to see who it was after feeling the chakra that it took for Zenitsu to jump 3 stories. Now they couldn't stop staring, all the ninja at Anko in her sexy outfit and the kunoichi staring at Zenitsu in his tight shirt, showing off his muscular frame. Both Anko and Zenitsu could feel the hungry predatory stares each other were getting from their respective opposite sex, causing both to put their arm around each other's waists and blasted a wave of killer intent out at the other bar patrons. Both thinking, he or she is mine, back off. The others in the bar hurriedly go back to their drinks. Anko and Zenitsu sit at a table in the back of the room and order drinks and food when a waitress walks by. Anko asks him how the meeting with the council went. He told her and thanked her for the information she gave him that morning. It had proven helpful. She was pissed about the way the Uchiha clan head had attacked him and had laughed when he told her about the way Tucci silenced the greedy councilwoman. She asked why Akamika didn't like snakes. Her father was killed by the chief snake summons Manda of the Ryuchi caves. She was really young and he died protecting her and her brothers and sister. It really affected her, and so she dislikes snakes as a rule. Don't worry, once she gets to know you it will be fine. Oh okay, well I hold the summing contract for the snakes of Ryuchi caves for our generation. I don't like Manda nor does my primary summons does. Then everything will be fine, trust me. I do Zenichi. But what about your mother, why did she say she would tell your mother about me? That is not about you and more about the village. I will tell you later, it's not something I want to talk about in public, it's clan stuff. Alright later then, don't think you're off the hook lover boy. Wouldn't dream of it. Their orders arrive and they eat sharing each other's dinner. After a few more drinks she asked him what he did to anger the Hokage for him to raise his chakra to that level. Zenichi finished his drink and slammed it on the table, cracking the glass. The noise caught the attention of some of the people sitting nearby. That wasn't the Hokage, it was me. That arrogant prick Hyuga Hiashi called me and the samurai of the guard weak, so I showed him how weak I am. He started laughing. The civvies in the room collapsed under the pressure I created. The looks on the clan heads' faces were priceless. Haha, it was great, and the Hokage is something else I will give him that he didn't even flinch. Anko looks at him and then at the people around them, here we go, she thought to herself. They had heard him call himself a samurai and that he had humiliated the council. Normally it wouldn't be a problem, but he wasn't a shinobi and he wasn't from the village, so now it was a problem. They stood up and walked over to the table. Did I hear you right, you're a samurai? Shit, I was too loud, wasn't I? Anko just laughs at his tone and nods her head. These idiots want to kick me out of the bar, don't they? Anko laughs harder, nodding her head again. So all because I, a samurai, made fools out of your ass council, they are going to pick a fight with me. Anko completely loses it, she starts laughing so hard she almost falls out of her top next to him. The four ninja lose their patience and yell at Zenichi. Shut your mouth, you samurai trash, and shut that snake bitch up. That wasn't the best thing to do, as both Anko and Zenichi are a little drunk. Anko stops laughing and wipes the tears from laughing so hard from her eyes and looks at the four ninja. Her expression was venomous, unnerving the ninja. Some jonin sitting on the other side of the bar was watching what was happening after Anko started laughing. Zenichi's face was blank, any sign of drunken merriment gone. This is going to be good, thought the jonin. Hey you, you're not going to step in, right? The jonin simply dips his head. No weapons, right? Again he dips his head. Okay then. He pulls his sword from the sash at his waist and hands it to Anko. Hold this for me, Hebahim. Anko smiles. Of course, my shogun. She says, his pet name seductively, extremely turned on by what he was doing and the killing intent he was putting off. He stands up and pushes his chair in. He turns towards the ninja and disappears. The jonin's eyes go wide. Zenichi is standing behind the four ninja. He slams the heads of the two in the middle heads together. They fall to the floor knocked out cold, blood coming out of their ears. The other two look over, but he is gone before they can catch sight of him. The one on the left suddenly flies up into the air and hits the ceiling so hard it cracks. He falls to the floor on top of his two comrades. Last is the leader who had insulted Anko. Zenichi start taunting the ninja, still moving so fast that he couldn't be seen. So you think you can take me, little ninja? You think you are so mighty and strong that you can insult my woman and get away with it? Do you even know who I am? No, I don't think you do, if you did you would have just sat there and enjoyed your drink. Zenichi stops moving behind the ninja and whispers in his ear. Let me tell you who I am, little ninja. His hand snaps to the neck of the ninja and lifts him in the air and holds him there. I am Uzumaki Zenichi, vice captain of the 2nd Division of the Iron Guard, the Wolf Blade of Sanro. This caused everyone in the bar to stare at him and Anko's eyes went wide. She looked at the sword he had handed her. It was too short to be the Akami Kami no Ken, which was known to be an adachi. She pulls it from the sheath and sees the saw-like back of the blade, her eyes go wide again. My boyfriend is the only samurai to ever be, but into the bingo books. The ninja in this grip wets himself in fear. Zenichi sees the wet stain and he throws the ninja out the window. The other ninja in the bar look at him. What, he pissed himself? I didn't want to get urine on the floor, that smell is a bitch to get rid of. The Inyazuka in the room nod their heads in agreement and go back to their drinks. Zenichi steps over the bodies of the knocked out ninja and Anko stand up to meet him and proceeds to kiss him passionately. When they part for a breath, Zenichi kisses her cheek lightly. Not like I am complaining, but what was that for? For defending me, no one ever has. Now let's head back to the apartment, I want to reward you some more. Zenichi smiles and head to the bar behind him. Anko slides the Akami Kami no Ken back into his sash. He pays off their tab and turns to leave and sees Itachi and another Uchiha walk in. He greets Itachi with his arm around Anko's waist. What did you do, Zenichi-san? Nothing, just defended my girl. Was all he said before they left. It had been a little over 3 weeks since the samurai Uzumaki Zenichi came to Konoha to negotiate a treaty with the Land of Iron. He and Naruto had made steady progress in the repairs of the Uzumaki temple and the surrounding lands that the Hokage granted to them for the samurai barracks that were set to start construction on in another week with the help of Oda. Naruto had finished mastering the leaf and tree climbing exercises that Shinichi wanted done and was now working on the water walking exercise. Naruto had taken to carrying a black wooden practice katana that Shinichi had given him, which had a lead core to match the weight of a real sword, and had him doing simple kinjutsu exercises when Naruto's chakra reserves were exhausted. Anko and Shinichi's relationship was going well. She would often show up at the temple after her work and help with Naruto's training. Between the two of them, Naruto was already far ahead of the civilian children that would be in his class in the ninja academy in the spring. After their first date, Anko and Shinichi had a long conversation about where their relationship was going, and after Shinichi persistently asked her why the villagers didn't like her, she told him about her ex-master, the traitor Snake-san in Orochimaru. She even showed him the failed curse seal that he had branded her with before abandoning her. Shinichi was upset after he learned about her painful past and furious after seeing the seal. As in Uzumaki, he could feel the evil in the corrupting seal. He asked if it bothered her at all. She told him that on occasion it would flare up and she would be paralyzed by the pain. He then insisted that she let him look at it, which she was hesitate to do, but after he reminded her that as in Uzumaki he could help her and as her boyfriend he wanted to. She relented, and after a few days of study and carefully probing the seal with his chakra, he figured out a way to seal the seal so that it was completely isolated from her chakra system, which would stop the pain. She felt the result instantly as a weight was lifted from her mind and jumped him in a passionate embrace. Currently, Shinichi was in the courtyard of the temple watching Naruto as he worked in the gardens. He then noticed that there were more than one Naruto, causing Shinichi to smile. The blonde had taken to the cage bunshin like a fish to water. Shinichi had been shocked when Naruto first used Taijutsu and made 36 clones at once and was able to stay standing. Naruto, it's time for your swordsmanship lessons, make another clone to take your place. Hi, Shinichi Nai. As Naruto walked out of the garden, he made a single hand seal and a clone took his place. Shinichi stared wide-eyed. Naruto, when did you learn to make clones with a one-handed seal? 2 days again. It was easy after all the control exercises and doing the jutsu every day. I figured if I am going to learn to wield a sword like you, then I should be able to do jutsu one-handed, so I never have to put my sword down in a fight. I am going to make it a personal goal to be able to perform all my jutsu one-handed. Naruto, I have to say I am impressed to be able to do that at your age and after only knowing the cage bunshin for a few weeks. You are going to be scary strong when you're older. Naruto smiled wickedly. I know. Shinichi Simple shook his head. Alright Mr. Big Head, 1000 swings today and no clones like you did yesterday. I told you they will only send back their experience, not any physical results of their training, so the muscle memory will be lost. That's why they are only good for sparring and practicing jutsu or formal study. Got that? Naruto let out a sigh and started swinging his practice sword in the courtyard, counting out as he went. When he was done 2 hours later, Shinichi looked over from his scroll. The merchant guild representative had sent him explaining the bylaws that the merchants from the land of iron were expected to follow. Shinichi Simple sent a current of Raiten chakra through the document, vaporizing it. Like Chichi and the other merchants will follow these laws, 40% to the village guild office, my ass more like his pocket. Anko was right, that fat little man is a greedy little pig, thought Shinichi. 500 one-handed swings in each hand. Now Naruto, if you want to cast jutsu with one hand, you will wield your sword with one, and I don't want one of your arms getting bigger than the other one, that would just look weird. Naruto let out a cry of protest, but a look from Shinichi silenced him in an instant. Naruto had learned that in anything that involved training, Shinichi was a merciless as Anko was in the interrogation chambers of the T&I department, but that never stopped Naruto from grumbling as he did as he was told. Shinichi smiled at his cousin's compliance. He went back to the stack of paperwork he had taken out to work on. Just because he was in the village didn't mean he was saved from the evil paperwork that was expected of him back in his division in the land of iron. Shortly after his message arrived at his captain's office about the Hokage's extra conditions, he had sent half a dozen messenger hawks to him with the collected paperwork and a letter explaining that he still had to do his work. Shinichi sighed. The amount of work kept increasing daily. Every morning he would wake up to find more hawks from the land of iron waiting for him at the village rookery. After seeing his hawks with sensitive samurai documents sitting next to shinobi ones, he set up one of his own rookery, separate from the village's hawks on the temple grounds. At the moment his clones were working on a building to the western side of the courtyard, with a few Naruto clones, rebuilding it to serve as his office and home. He decided early on that the commanding officer of this compound would live separated from the rest of the force. Something not seen in other samurai outposts, but other Kos weren't dating a Kunoichi who liked to scream his name in bed, plus this wasn't really another outpost. Even the barracks that was planned was different from most outpost barracks Shinichi had seen. This one had a long-term stay in mind instead of a few months until your relief arrived at the end of the season. Those here would be staying for a whole year or more, and in his case even longer. So comfort was more of a concern than normal. His captain had asked who he wanted to have with him in the village, and he had asked for his original teammates. The samurai that had known him the longest and he could trust to keep the others in line, and if anything were to happen he wanted them with him. Plus with a strike group of 12 11th Division samurai being part of the exchange, Zenichi wanted officers that he know would and could keep them in line. His captain didn't want to send so many skilled samurai to the land of fire, but he understood Zenichi's concerns about the more junior ranks and the bruisers from the 11th. After another hour all the paperwork from that morning's hawk was done and Naruto was just finishing up the swings on his offhand. 497, 498, 499, 500, done Zenichi Nai. What next? Zenichi stood up from his seat and walked over to his cousin. Let's work on your control some more. You can stand and walk on the water with ease now, but you start to sink when you moor too quickly or are distracted. They walk over to the pond behind the shrine and take off their outer layers and walk out onto the water. Zenichi settles in a comfortable taijutsu stance which Naruto mimics. Zenichi starts going through the katas with Naruto shadowing his movements while trying to stay on the surface of the water. Zenichi increases the pace until Naruto loses his concentration and falls into the water. Zenichi stops and walks over to his cousin and pulls him out of the water and sets him back on the surface. You know the drill, 20 laps across and back. Naruto shakes himself off like a dog, then sets out at as fast as possible while maintaining his footing across the surface of the water. Zenichi goes back to practicing the forms, but at a pace much faster than when Naruto was following him. Halfway through the kata a flash of metal and orange enters his field of view, as well as a series of fast precise strikes. Zenichi smiled, this was a normal occurrence and meant that his favorite snake mistress was done with work for the day. They two have start sparring and Zenichi picks up the pace again, finding it harder to evade his girlfriend's attacks. She is improving, he thought. After she gets a hit on him he jumps back and sees her fully without her trench coat or leg plates and sandals. She was wearing nothing but her mesh suit and miniskirt. She smiles back at him and gives him a come and get it gesture with her outstretched hand. Zenichi returns the smile and goes on the attack. She evaded him effectively until he picked up the speed again and disappears from view. She stops moving and looks around her, then sticks the tip of her tongue out and scents the air. Just before he grabs her she turns around and tackles him. She knocks him into the water with her following. They sink down to the bottom of the shallow pond. Zenichi smirks at her on top of him and kisses her under the surface. She returns the kiss, then kicks of the bottom and head to the surface with him following. You were able to follow me, you have gotten better, Anko. Thanks, Zenichi. I can't let you keep catching me and toying with me all the time. I thought you liked it when I toyed with you. He said slyly with a lustful look on his face. I do, but I want to toy with you sometimes too, and don't even think about letting me catch you cause I will know and I want to get you myself. Zenichi swam over to her and pulled her close. Wouldn't dream of it, and I look forward to the tonight cause you caught me Hebahim. She slaps his chest playfully. Baka. They kiss again but are disturbed by the sound of gaping. They both look over to see Naruto holding his throat and pretending to vomit. At seeing that a tick mark appears on Anko's forehead, she pushes Zenichi away and surges chakra to her feet, propelling her out of the water and standing on the surface. She stares at Naruto until he stops and looks over at her. An evil grin spreads across her face as a kunai appears in her hands. My turn, Gaki, start running. At that Anko starts pelting Naruto with kunai and senbon as he runs screaming around the pond. He tries to escape, but Zenichi appear in front of him every time he tries to leave the pond. Traitor. Says Naruto after the second time Zenichi gets in his way. Zenichi just laughs and points behind Naruto. Damn you both, just you wait, I'm going to get stronger than both of you and then I will have a new wolf pelt cloak and snakeskin belt. Naruto yelled out as he dodged another volley of kunai and senbon. After 10 more minutes of this Zenichi called an end to Anko's fun. Okay, that's enough, Naruto has to get back to practicing the Uchiha. Naruto, get over here, Anko, you too. Hit him with a senbon if he fails to mimic me perfectly. Naruto paled at that, but Anko simply smiles as she walks over to Zenichi and gives him a light kiss, then takes a seat on the shore next to her trench coat. Zenichi gets back into the opening form of the Uchiha as does Naruto, and they go through the katas again. Zenichi slowly picks up the pace like earlier, and Naruto keeps up as best as possible. Anko watches Naruto mimic Zenichi like his shadow, a little disappointed that he hadn't made any mistakes yet, but was also impressed that after only a few weeks of instruction he had progressed so far. She smiles wickedly as he makes a mistake and hits him with a senbon, not hard enough to penetrate deeply, but enough so that he felt it. Zenichi hears Naruto's whelp as the senbon struck and picked up the pace again. Shortly Naruto looked like a pincushion and was panting from trying to keep up with Zenichi. After an hour Zenichi finally stopped and turned to see Naruto breathing heavy and having a hard time keeping above the water surface. Okay Naruto, that's enough for today. You have gotten better. I say you have mastered the water walking to the point you will need anything from now on. Will only help to improve your control, but it will be slow improvements, the little precision stuff that are the sign of a true expert. So we'll focus on your Uchiha tomorrow. I will show you the forms and instruct you movement by movement so you know the correct forms instead of just trying to mimic me. Naruto nods as he pulls out Senbin and gives Anko dirty looks, who just ignores him with an innocent expression on her face. So as a reward for doing so, will the last few weeks tonight we will have Ichirakus for dinner. All you can eat on me. How does that sound, Naruto? Sounds great. I haven't eaten at Ichiraku's since my birthday. Just give me a sec. He pumps a lot of chakra through his body and starts healing all the little holes left behind by the Senbin, like Zenitsu had taught him. When Naruto asked why he hadn't healed like Zenitsu had when he explained their Kekkei Genkai, Zenitsu told him that it wasn't automatic and that he had to actively channel chakra to his wounds for it to work. Afterwards Naruto had jumped for joy, exclaiming that he would never have to stay in the evil hospital again. Zenitsu had started laughing when Naruto asked him what was so funny. Zenitsu explained that he had done the same thing when he learned how to get his wounds to heal. He also explained that the only reason Naruto could use that part of his Kekkei Genkai was because he was nearly beaten to death the year before. It takes massive damage to the body to activate your healing factor. The first time also your healing factor will only help you so much. Major damage like what happened on his birthday still required medical treatment to a degree, he had explained to a sober Naruto. This was the first time Anko had seen the Uzumaki healing factor. She watched as the small holes healed with her mouth open. Ebahim, you shouldn't open your mouth like that, you might find something in it. Anko snaps her mouth shut but licks her lips and gives Zenitsu a hungry look. Naruto rolls his eyes. Okay, I know that I might be older in a sense, but I am still 6 years old, guys. Can you at least try to keep it appropriate? Both Anko and Zenitsu look at the boy and hang their heads. Sorry Naruto, I keep forgetting. You just act so much older so much of the time. Yeah, me too Naruto, sorry. Both the adults look back at Naruto and see him nodding his head, already forgiving them. I am much older. You should get me out of having to go to the academy, Zenitsu Nai. Now it was their turn to roll their eyes. This wasn't the first time Naruto had tried that. In fact, he and Anko had a very vocal argument about it at one point and hadn't spoken for a few days. Until Zenitsu stepped in on his girlfriend's behalf and told Naruto that he had to go to the academy if he wanted to be Hokage. He also told him that Anko was missing him, which had made Naruto feel very guilty, so he ran into the T&I department looking for Anko to apologize. He almost made it to her but was stopped by Ibiki and made to wait until she finished with her guest. After she walked out with blood on her face, Naruto ran up and hugged her, saying he was sorry. Talking incoherently and making such a scene that Ibiki intervened again and took Naruto to an empty interrogation room and ordered Anko to clean herself up before talking to the boy. Ibiki then asked the boy why he was apologizing and Naruto reluctantly told the man. Ibiki hadn't said anything after Naruto had finished. He had known Anko for most her life and had more or less adopted her as his little sister and know that she was no good at explaining anything with any sense of tact. After a minute he told the boy that he and Anko just needed to talk it out and reassured the boy that Anko would forgive him. Then Anko walked in and Ibiki left and guarded the door so they could talk without being interrupted. He knew that it was Naruto who had helped Anko get out of her spiraling depression and owed the boy that much and more. After Naruto confronted Anko, she had come to Ibiki and asked if she had been as bad as the boy had described and he told her no, she was much worse. After that the most feared man in the village became a silent supporter of the boy and if anyone spoke ill of him in his presence there were repercussions, severe repercussions. No Naruto, I understand that you don't want to go to the academy and honestly I would prefer that you just stay as my student, but you have to go and get to know those that will one day be on your team and there are some things as a samurai I just can't teach you. Naruto sighed and nodded his head. After Anko and Naruto's talk, she went looking for Zenitsu to thank him for talking to Naruto and after she finished, they talked about why Naruto was so adamant about not attending the academy. Both had been at a loss until Zenitsu remembered how he had met Naruto and it clicked. He's scared that all the other kids will treat him the same way their parents and the other adults do. Before he didn't have any other options but now with me and you to a lesser extent he was a way out that will still get him the training he wants and needs. Anko rolled over and looked at her boyfriend with a sad look on her face. I'm afraid his fears are justified. Most parents tell their children that he is a bad kid and not to associate with him. I don't think that he will find any friends at the academy. At least until they are split up into teams and they get to know him and even then it's a maybe at best. Zenitsu thought about that and had a few ideas that might help, one taking the form of a mystery raven-hair, lavender-eyed girl. What if he had friends before going to the academy? Anko's eyes light up. That could work, but we still have to get though their parents first. I have an idea, but I need your help for it to work. He told her about the girl in the orange jacket. He then asked her to find the girl and what clan she was from. Anko agreed, saying she would start right away and tell him the second she found her. So far the search had turned nothing up, but both were committed to see it through. Okay, I'm all healed up, let's go. Naruto, maybe you should put some clothes on first, suggested Zenitsu as he put his shirt back on, much to Anko's displeasure. Naruto nodded and started putting on his shirt and orange jacket. By that time Anko already put her sandals and bracers back on and was holding her coat, waiting until they got to the edge of the compound to put it back on. They started walking and Naruto told Anko about his day and how hard of a taskmaster Zenitsu was. All normal conversation when she showed up. Naruto would try to get Zenitsu in trouble with Anko, who would look at Naruto with wide eyes and would playfully reprimanded Zenitsu, who would whine about her always taking Naruto's side. It was all in good fun and always left the three of them smiling. Anko would end up with Zenitsu's arm around her waist, with Naruto walking in front of them with his hands behind his head, fingers laced and smiling. He had a family and was for the first time in his life happy. As they walked through the village to Ichiraku, Zenitsu watched the villagers pass by with their eyes cast down. He had made it a point to whip the villagers in line. After the first time the three of them had gone out to eat, both Anko and Naruto got their normal hateful glares until Zenitsu lost his patience and struck a large man who had the gall to call Naruto a demon and Anko snake bitch in the same sentence. The strike was so powerful that the man went through a wall and the killer intent was so heavy that the other villagers couldn't move. Later, when some members of the military police showed up at their dinner demanding that Zenitsu come with them, Zenitsu then made it very clear that he would not, and if they wanted an extended stay in the hospital, they were welcome to try and make him. They wanted to try at the samurai and both of the Uchiha flared their Sharingan. Before they could move, both ended up beaten and thrown into the street. It happened so quickly that it appeared as if he never left his seat. The villagers in the restaurant watched wide-eyed as the two Uchiha were crushed with ease. Since then no one would risk angering the samurai, so as long as he was with them, both Anko and Naruto were treated with respect. After word got out that he was untouchable due to diplomatic immunity, rumors started that the Hokage gave the samurai his status so he could beat on unruly villagers that the Hokage himself couldn't touch. They arrived at Ichiraku's and sat at the bar just after the dinner rush, so they had the stand to themselves. "Hi Uchiha, Am-chan, how you been?" Both the ramen chief and his daughter snap around at the sound of his voice. "Naruto. Naruto-kun." They both call. It had been a long time since they last saw him and had been worried that what happened on his birthday stopped him from coming to eat at their restaurant. He was their favorite customer after all. Naruto, not used to anyone being excited about his presence before, scratched the back of his neck nervously. Tucci notices the nervous twitch and calms down. "Naruto, how have you been? We have been worried about you. After your last birthday you never came back." "Sorry Uchiha, I have been busy helping Zenitsu Nai rebuild the Uzumaki temple for the samurai that will be staying there in the spring. I have so much to tell about the last few weeks." Zenitsu and Anko quickly made their orders and just sat back and enjoyed the time together, with Naruto so absorbed in telling the Ichirakus about the last 3 weeks of his life, they were completely forgotten by the blonde. Giving them time to just be a happy young couple, the smiles on their faces as they played with each other's ramen didn't go unnoticed by Tucci, and the older man was happy for them. Life was short and even shorter for those in their particular profession. When Naruto told them about the training he has been getting from Zenitsu and Anko, the old man looked at the two. Both returned his look. When the older man raised an eyebrow, Zenitsu responded. "One day he will have to face enemies for many reasons. But the most powerful will be those that wish to kill him because of his heritage. Whole villages will be against him and he will have to weather the storm. He will not be alone, but he cannot simply hide behind Anko and I forever." The way that Zenitsu spoke told Tucci all he needed to know, and the two men shared a nod. Tucci was not as blind as many in the village and he knew who the boy's parents were. His mother Kushina had been just as big a ramen addict as her son, if not a bigger one, and when she was pregnant, her cravings for all types of ramen had pushed the man's skills to the max. Then when Namikaze the yellow flash Minato would flash in just before closing, asking for the same crazed concoctions that Kushina would crave, Tucci did the math. He looked at the mini Minato in front of him, knowing that the boy was in good hands that would make him strong enough to protect himself and follow in the footsteps of both his parents. When Naruto was finished telling them about his last few weeks, AM noticed Anko and Zenitsu, and like any young woman her age, squealed at the sight of the two of them. She practically jumped Anko and started the infamous girl talk. The kind of talk that all boyfriends feared and dreaded. At first Anko was hesitate to talk about a relationship, but after AM kept excitedly asking questions, Anko gave up and started talking to the younger girl. Little by little Anko opened up to the girl and they started talking in earnest. As Inichi's dread, Tucci laughed and struck up a conversation with him and Naruto about the finer parts of Naruto's training. As a former shinobi, it was a topic he found most enjoyable. The two men exchanged notes, and Tucci asked Naruto questions about what he liked most about his training. Surprisingly, the boy told him that Kinjutsu was his favorite, with Yuanjutsu being second, only because it was so easy. Kinjutsu was more of a challenge, making it more fun to learn. This continued for most of the evening until a pregnant woman and her daughter walked in. Tucci walked over to the two and handed them menus. "Iker-chan, it has been a long time since I last saw you here. I am sorry, Tucci-san, but I have been so busy. Relations with the branch clan have been falling apart, and my nephew, after the loss of his father, is falling victim to the hate that exists between the two families. I have been trying to help him, but he will not trust me at all. You wouldn't happen to still have that special menu you made for Kushina? I find that nothing will satisfy my hunger." Hinata was never this much of a picky eater. The young girl blushed at her mother's comment. At hearing his mother's name, Naruto looked over. Now it was his turn to be the loud Uzumaki, scaring the patrons of the ramen stand. "It's you." The young girl jumps from the loud voice. She looks over and sees Naruto standing up on his stool with his orange jacket unzipped, mimicking the style in which Shinichi wore his coat, pointing at her. The jacket looked familiar, then she looked up at his face and saw his blonde spiky hair and sucks in. "You?" she whispers. The adults look at the two children, completely confused, until the woman identified by Tucci as Hikaru gasped. "You're Naruto-kun." Naruto felt very uncomfortable, then only AM and Anko, when she was drunk, called him that. Shinichi looked at the younger girl and notices her features. The raven hair and pale eyes marked her as a Hyuga, but after looking closer he noticed that her eyes had a slight lavender shade to them. He turns to Anko and whispers into her ear. Her eyes go wide as she looks at the girl. Naruto finally musters up the courage to ask who the woman was. I don't know you, lady, but why are you talking about my mother like you know her?" Naruto's tone was accusing, and the hormonal woman starts tearing up after hearing it. "I'm so sorry, Naruto-kun, I was teammates with your mother before she died. I'm so sorry I wasn't there for you, Naruto-kun. I didn't know you had survived that night. The Hokage told us you were dead. Killed by the raging Kyuubi before Minato could finish it." Hikaru starts crying. She stands up and walks over to Naruto. "I know I have no right to ask, but please forgive me. I had no idea you were her son and that you were facing the things you were until I heard about the night your cousin confronted that mob." The woman tries to get on her knees to beg for forgiveness but is stopped by Naruto. He looks into her pale eyes and smiles. "It's okay, I forgive you. You didn't know, right, and I don't know how I know, but I know you are truly sorry." Hikaru bursts out into hormonal tears again and thanks Naruto and hugs him. Naruto tenses up at the contact but forces himself to relax. Shinichi watches his cousin, impressed by the boy's capacity to forgive. The girl had watched the whole scene with her mother in silence, staring intensely at Naruto the whole time. "Ha-san." This gets her mother's attention. "Ha-san, it's him, the boy I told you about who saved me months ago." The girl had whispered the whole time. Hikaru gasped again and holds Naruto at arm's reach and looks at the boy closely. He did in fact fit the description her daughter had given her about the boy that had saved her from some bullies several months earlier. "Thank you again, Naruto, for forgiving me and for helping my daughter. You truly are Kushina's son." Naruto blushes and scratches the back of his neck. Hikaru tries to return to her seat but finds Hinata in it next to Naruto instead. She smiles at the girl and she moves to Hinata's old seat and places an order from Kushina's special menu, which Tucci had kept as a memento of one of his favorite customers. She looks over at Anko and Shinichi, who after the excitement from her display ended had gone back to feeding each other ramen and making a mess of each other in the process. She watches as a drop of broth rolled down Anko's jawline, only to be wiped off by Shinichi with a kiss. She smiled at the young couple's antics. She looks over at her normally shy and quiet daughter as she talks with Naruto. Hinata sat wide-eyed as Naruto told her about his training with Shinichi. She would make eep noises whenever Naruto would jump up on his stool to dramatically reenact part of his story. After they were all done, Shinichi and Hikaru paid their respective bills and the two groups got up to leave. Hinata looks up at her mother with a pleading look. Hikaru just sighed and stroked Hinata's hair. "Ask him," she said to her shy daughter. Hinata nodded and looked over at Naruto, who was saying good night to Anko and Shinichi as they split up to head to their apartments. Naruto, would you like to play some time?" Naruto looks at Hinata a little shocked and looked up at Shinichi. After a second, Shinichi nods to the silent question and received a big grin. "Yes, I would like to play sometime. Come by the Uzumaki temple anytime you want to play. I am there most of the time these days." Hinata nods and takes her mother's hand as they walk away, returning home. What if Naruto returns as a samurai? And thanks for watching my video till the end. If you enjoy this content, then do consider subscribing to my channel and leave a like if you guys need the next part, comment down, and thanks for watching the video and see you guys in the next video.